You're here in the studio.
How many refugees will you take in your house, James?
None.
How many refugees would you take in your house, Ash?
About 3 or 4. Yeah,
Right,
he's got loads of rooms.
So you're part of the problem.
So, what is the solution?
Stop accepting refugees for citizenship. Make it clear to the world, no more refugee centres.
And you're a political party, right?
Yes.
How many MPs have you got?
I go knocking on doors.
How many MPs do you have?
Look, you're an anti-white knuckle dragger. I go knocking on doors.
Right, out, now.
Why is that?
Out!
No.
Come and get him and do it now, quickly.
Tower of deceit, but the foundation is cracking. Hear the rumble beneath every sneer, every slight. We've counted them all. Now your time's running out, and the empire will fall. How long will you run from the truth you distort? Can you stand the gaze of the Westman's retort? Your schemes are pathetic. Your hatred is clear, but it's your own damn weakness that you truly fear. You think you can chain us, break our will, but you've only fed the fury you tried to kill. Weakling, craven, hollow to the core. You fear the truth we bleed. You feel it for your cowardice is the echo of your empty creed. But we'll rise, west wind, where the storm your heed. You can't bury the fire, it's burning inside. You can't drown the truth, it's a rising tide. Anti-Zionism, throw weapons to fall. But we're sharpening our swords and we'll bury your bile. West men, we stand in defiance to war. For the end of your reign, and we'll settle the score.
Still the election. Up front, by padding the road. They have that they have changed. We have talked about this many times across the United States.
In a world that's trying to tear us apart, they
go to that. I can tell you some stories. Racing out on the road to make sure that we were here on time. I pull up at a light to take a left. I got to take a left where I wanted to go. And there was one of these absolute produce department vegetables up at the front of this left turn. And they decided in their infinite wisdom to stop on a yellow with nobody coming. So I laid on the horn really hard, just laid on the horn. Of course, they were too slow-witted to realize what was even happening. Yeah, what do I do? It's yellow light. I'm still red at yellow light. Somebody honking. And there was a guy who, I don't know if he's homeless. I don't think he's homeless. He's too nicely dressed. A black guy, but he has kind of straightish hair. And he's a young man. He's probably between 20 and 25. He begs there at this particular intersection. And I was honking. I honk, and I just like, get out of the way. And I'm wishing there was a button there and I could press and send a fucking missile up the ass of this idiot in the left-hand turn lane that's deciding not to go when I'm hurrying and deciding they're just going to stop there and think about it. And I'm looking for the button. And this guy who just begs for money probably makes more money than I do. Every time I turn around, I see a white person giving this young black guy money every single time I turn around. And he makes this face. He's like, like you're blowing the horn. So I rolled the window down and I said, do you want me to get out of the car? And he did one of these, and he turned around and walked away. And I thought, you know what? I'm probably the only Southerner on planet Earth that has a inner New York City denizen as my spirit animal. And it's about to get out of my car and whoop a shit out of this homeless or wannabe homeless or fake homeless motherfucker. And I'm going to leave him on the side of the road, probably rob him as well. Then I go inside. I'm going to get a coffee. I go inside. And it's a Starbucks. So I go inside and the place is full of people. It's goddamn like the Star Wars fucking cantina in this fucking place. And I shit you not, that thing with like the hammerhead and the eyeballs, that was fucking there. That was fucking there. And he was speaking Spanish. I promise you he was there. And I walk up and there's like this whole, and I get in line and I'm like waiting and I can't even stand it. The person at the register, I started making faces at that person. I'm like, hurry up. I'm making crazy faces at the person. And the girl's like, holy shit, this guy's going to lose it or something. He's making crazy over the shoulder of the person. He obviously doesn't know. And I get up there, I make my order. I walk around and then I announce. I got all these people waiting. I got all of these. You got all of these females and they're there for the pumpkin spice, the latte. It's already been introduced for the October, for the Halloween. It's already been introduced. And they're, by the way, ladies, white ladies, and they make fun of you all the time, the white ladies. And somehow that's okay. We can't make fun of like the black ladies. We can't make fun of what they're getting. They're getting like the pig's feet latte. You can't satirize that is what I'm telling you to do. You can't. But you can make fun of the white ladies who are out there getting the pumpkin spice. And by the way, it's all poison. It's all, go ahead and look it up for yourself. So I'm sitting there and I'm looking at them. I'm like, this can't be right. I got to roll here. I got to go free so I can I got to get back. I got to drive 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour over the speed limit, cutting in and out of traffic like it's a goddamn racing movie. And these tards over there are making drinks for all of these losers that are in there. So I just go ahead and I announce to the workers, the Starbuckians is what I call them. I announced to them, I said, hey, everybody, Starbuckians, if you can make my drink right now, I will strip for you. And wouldn't you know it, all of the Hispanic girls and the gay guys turn around, they make my drink immediately, and I'm able to get back on the road so that I can take off to be here with all of you, and we can get started here with Mordor across from the fucking Potomac.
No white guilt, I'll carry the flame. In this fight for our honor, I'll stake my claim. With every heartbeat, I'll stand my ground. In a world of chaos, my voice will resound. They try to erase us, rewrite the past, but the strength of our heritage is built to last. I'll shout it from the rooftops, let the truth be known. With every step I take, I'm never alone. They can't take my spirit, they can't take my pride. With my brothers beside me, I'll never hide. Together we'll rise, we'll break through the night. With courage in our hearts, we'll win this fight. No white guilt, I'll carry the flame. In this fight for our honor, I'll stake my claim. With every heartbeat, I'll stand my ground. In a world of chaos, my voice will resound.
The following is brought to you in part by a grant from the Foundation for White Wellbeing.
All right, we are rolling in, going free. Let me know if you can hear me okay. I'm literally just sweeping in to the office. It's been a very, very busy day. It's been a long day. It's been a busy day, but the skies were blue here outside of Mordor on the Potomac. It's glorious. Let me know that you can hear me okay. It looks like you can see me okay, but let me know that you can hear me. Apparently, all of our different platforms are up and running. If you would like to get a hold of me over the course of the conversation, and we're going to be getting started in just a moment with this debate review of Nick Fuentes and Dean Withers. And actually, I think I have the right video pulled up. You know, we'll find out together. It'll be like that. It's going to be one of those days. And so you can tag me, though, as No White Guilt across these myriad platforms. I want to hear from you. @ No White Guilt on the Twitter live chat. I see a couple of people have already chimed in. YouTube, Odyssey, Rumble, and of course you can financially gift as well. You can do so on Entropy, which is up and running. You can do so on Rumble. Please no more than $1 on Rumble. They charge 40%, and that's before the tax man gets a hold of it. D Live, cryptocurrency, Odyssey, cryptocurrency, Cash Dollars, Cash App, Cash Dollars, Subscribe Star, Cash Dollars. You can financially gift on a monthly basis and become part of the All Stars if you are so inclined, or at least on the Honors Roll Call. You can do that at Subscribe Star, Gumroad. There are options. You can head on over to nowhiteguilt.org, click on the financial gift tab, and you'll see those options, which include 5 cryptocurrency wallets, as well as a snail mail address with a funny little video that was shared on Instagram. And maybe I will have to pull it over and share it here at the beginning of one of our roll-ins or regular Sunday gathering, which is when we come together. That's our big show, 4.5 hours, Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I am in Virginia, right outside of Mordor on the Potomac, also known as Washington, D.C., or the District to those who are born and reared here in the hell. It's great to see so many of the champions are in the. There's Masumik, there's First Last, and Cool Papa J Magic, the Nameless One. Janice is here as well. Jay Bishop, Anglo-Saxon NWG says, I can hear you. You're an all-star, says Cool Papa J. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. A man with impeccable taste, obviously, is the case. So just make sure this has not gone wrong. We're going to be talking about this debate, I think maybe before. We're not going to do anything before it. We're just gonna get into it. Oh, you know what else I want to say? The Foundation for whitewellbeing.com or .org, 501c3. If you would like to make a tax-deductible donation, you can do so there. You can also find that address by going over to nowhiteguilt.org, and you'll see under the financial gift tab, I believe it is, the link to the Foundation for White Wellbeing. There you can give a donation. Please, when you do, tag yours truly. Say you wanted to go to Jason Köhne, Jason No White Guilt, the Sunday and Wednesday guy, whatever it is. Just make sure you tag me so that the funds can find their way to yours truly. I very much appreciate that. We have a very exciting secret that I don't know going to be able to share today, but we'll definitely be sharing this coming Sunday. It's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. And so keep that in the back of your mind. It's going to be very exciting. Happy about it. Looking forward to it. But hello to everybody. Myra is here. Great to see you. Let your friends know. White Wolf is here. Great to see you. Let your friends know. Max and Rob. Good to see you, brother. Let your friends know that we are here, that we're rolling in for a little while. We're going to be looking at, I don't think the totality of this. I think it's actually like 2+ hours long. So we're not going to do maybe we'll do like halfway. And then if there's some interest in finishing it, we will review the rest of it. Since it's that long, of course, there's going to be my commentary along the way and my thoughts, observations. As I mentioned before, since I saw so many claims all over Twitter the day after this debate took place, that Fuentes had crushed Dean Withers, I wondered, as so many of them were coming from Fuentes followers. So I turned the debate on while I was working, which means I wasn't able to give it 100% attention. I could just turn to it every time I heard something that was interesting or stupid or whatever, or a little spat back and forth. Whoever said this, that this was twink versus twink, no, knock it off. Not even funny. I'm not even laughing at calling it twink versus twink, okay? This is a serious place. We address serious matters. So we're going to take a pretty close look at this and be as fair as possible. As you all know, I don't like the multiracial anti-Jew movement, which condemns Jewish people on the basis of their birth rather than on the basis of anti-white behavior or thoughts. I condemn everyone who is anti-white, irrespective of race, including Jews who might be anti-white. And maybe that's just maybe like a little caveat I will add as we get started, especially for the Fuentesians, which are my pet name for I have the Starbuckians for the Starbucks people, the Fuentesians, the branch Fuentesians for their followers there, so that they know, as well as really the totality of the anti-Jew, the multiracial anti-Jew movement, ideology, sphere, whatever you want to call it. There are no arguments that I haven't heard. I've been around for a long time. I went through the ranks, if you will. I paid my dues and never got what was coming to someone who has talent and succeeds and pays their dues. I never got any of that. So just so these people know, maybe they've never heard me before. Maybe they've never heard of me. Maybe they've only heard lies about yours truly, which many of the anti-Jew crowd have propagated, because what you have here is what's supposed to be what I refer to loosely as a white sympathetic sphere. People who are concerned with the well-being of white people. We break that down into two types: explicit, implicit. Implicit is more like your basic conservative or MAGA voter. Explicit, they're willing to talk about race, say that there are different races, and that sort of thing. There are no arguments that I haven't heard. And currently, from the sort of focus, and I don't follow these people, so you can correct me if I go wrong, but what I see, just snippets here and there on places like Twitter and Gab, because they're not really anywhere else, right? On places like Twitter and Gab, they don't talk about it at the workplace, right? They don't talk about it at the family gathering. They don't talk about it at the gathering of friends. They don't talk about it unless it's one of those gatherings. So it's really just in these anonymous areas, with the exceptions, of course, of the people who are willing to put their faces and names out there, and that's respectable, right? If you're gonna do something like that and put your face and name out there, well, you get a little bit of respect, unless you're just stupid. But it appears to me that really the main, so this is just to give you my bona fides, like my credentials, if you will. The argument now, really the focus now of these people, is that it's kind of odd too, that at the very center currently is a white guy, Peter Thiel. I believe he's white. I haven't done the early life on him because I don't care about things like this. I can tell from some of the things that I've seen Peter Thiel associated with that he at least leans anti-white. Is he anti-white incidentally? Is he anti-white because that is the morality of our day? Maybe so. But I'd like to have a conversation with him so that I could flip him. He's a multi-billionaire. He is a co-founder of PayPal and Palantir, and part of the PayPal mafia, maybe even the Don of the PayPal mafia. Multi-billionaire, really organizing, and is the economic engine behind the conservative MAGA. And maybe that could be differentiated from original MAGA. This is it's like we're talking about the different meals at McDonald's over the years. Is it original MAGA? Is it conservative MAGA? Seems like he's kind of like a J.D. Vance is a protege, and so is a slew of Jewish content creators. Yes, there are a lot of these Jewish content creators. Incidentally, too, just as is typical with conservatism, they're anti-white. Now, who was just as an aside, I'm just kind of riffing, if you will, on the subject. And I don't want to go too far afield. I don't want to be discursive, but who were the financiers before in Conservative Inc.? Who were the big financiers behind the scenes? Sort of behind the scenes. Well, the Koch brothers. oddly enough, I think Koch is also a German surname. Thiel and Koch, aren't they German surnames? Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure they're cryptos or something, right? But the Koch brothers, and they were the main financiers for maybe almost 50 years. Okay. So if you're 50, 60, 70 years of age or younger, the anti-white conservative Koch brothers were the economic engine behind the resistance to anti-whiteism. Imagine that. Your whole life. So for generations, it's been these generation after generation, this generation, the next one, it's been the Koch brothers. And they're being displaced. I think one is dead, right? They're being displaced. And really, Peter Thiel is now the kingmaker. And of course, there are other players as well. I mean, you have, for example, Jared Kushner is back in the scene, and he's going to be hiring again, just like in 2016. So it's not the Heritage Foundation. It's not Project 25. It is Jared Kushner again. Aren't we lucky? Another clearly Israel first kind of guy, which makes him anti-white. So I don't like him because he's anti-white, not because he had a Jewish mother or father or both, or I really don't care. What I care about is whether or not he's anti-white or white positive or neutral, whatever. But he's going to be back. Can you imagine? 2016 all over again. Going to populate the Trump administration with a bunch of these Israel firsters and anti-white cuck servidom and etc. So you got Jared, you have others. You have multi-billionaire Jews who are sort of maybe not necessarily backing Trump and MAGA, but they run parallel and sort of create a wind that buoys and pushes MAGA or conservative MAGA, if you will, versus again original MAGA. And that would be people like Bill Ackman, right, at Columbia. And he suddenly flipped when his fellow Jews at Columbia, his alma mater, were being mistreated. They were being spoken negatively about, right? After October 7th, not this one, the previous. You have, so Bill, multi-billionaire. People rarely talk about what is that other multi-billionaire. He's also a player there, sort of the exact same way. Suica, Henry Suica. And so how many in the anti-Jew movement can even get around to Henry Suica, another multi-billionaire Jew who is just like Ackman. He has, I think he was a Columbia grad as well. And now he's sort of running parallel to MAGA. He's like, no more money, no more support, no more. And I don't know. I haven't investigated. You'll have to talk to the anti-Jew people about whether or not he is directly financing anything that's pro-MAGA or conservative MAGA. Who else? Well, you have the multi-billionaire Jews. And remember, this is not my fort. This is not my fort. And yes, that's the proper pronunciation. Look it up. It's your fort, not your forte. This is not my fort. It's not my wheelhouse. But Miriam Adelson, right? I read about her and her super PAC, $100 million, I think she put into Preserve America. Is that what it's called? Preserve America? And then you have the multi-billionaire Jew, Ike Perlmutter, and his Trump super PAC. And I don't know exactly how much they've raised. I think he started it off with 50 million. And he's from Marvel and a bunch of other things. What is his super PAC called? Right for America, I think is what it's called. Right for America. So you've got them. And how many more? How many more? You have, well, let's do this. This one I know the Fuentesians will really appreciate. So if they show up, they'll really appreciate this. You have this constellation of, well, Jews and people who are white and like, of course, Peter Thiel. And others, and there are some blacks in there. All of these people we would just call anti-white. And there is like an ideology, we'll just leave it at like an ideology, a philosophy that sort of underpins and undergirds all the things that they are doing and saying. They're like leading lights in the articulation of the philosophy, of the ideology that undergirds all of these aforementioned and so many more that there's just no time. We're going to get into this. We're going to get into this stellar debate in just a moment. And maybe somebody like Curtis Yarvin really represents. So this contemporary of ours, Curtis Yarvin, popular. He's also a Jew. Wouldn't you know it? He's also a Jew, but he doesn't exist in a void, does he? You have, along with Curtis Yarvin, you have a little bit earlier and kind of an influencer, Bill Kristol. And of course, along with him, Irving, his father, also influencer. And he, of course, didn't exist, Irving, in a void. He was heavily influenced by Harvey Mansfield, another Jew. Can you believe it? The Kristols are Jews. Mansfield's a Jew. Shocker. Both Mansfield and Irving Kristol, they were both influenced by Leo Strauss, who was a prolific writer, happens to be a Jew as well. He didn't exist in a void, though, either. He's connected to Zeev Jabotinsky. And a great many people, including Zeev Jabotinsky, happens to be Jewish as well, influenced by Baruch Spinoza. And Spinoza influenced by the preeminent of all Jewish philosophers, Maimonides. And Maimonides influenced by the Jewish Kalam. And what's the Jewish Kalam, you ask? Well, you've been in the anti-Jewish movement for a long time and you don't know the Jewish Kalam? Well, that's a reactionary ideology to Aristotelianism. And so who were they influenced by? Well, we could just go on. Maybe you'll say Satan. I don't know. But I know your current arguments. I know the arguments from the past. I've been here for decades. We have people like Fuentes today, who is in this debate, who has essentially told his entourage, his Fuentesians, he's essentially told them that he is the person who is, he is the Jewish question. And I have a little respect for the impudence there, the gall of it, but no respect for the followers who actually heed these things. We have Witzke the other day, who said a witless Witzke ism, which was she and all her followers have to thank Fuentes for bringing the Jewish question in quotes, of course, to the world, and for telling the world and for revealing all of these facts. And I'm like, what? Were you born yesterday? What are you even talking? And then, even more recently, just a couple of days ago, Lily Gaddis, who we had on this show, and we appeared with her on her show, she tweets the other day, boy, if white people could watch each other's backs like Jews watch each other's backs, we'd have it made, something in that effect, which is, of course, what we argue, that we need to be white or Westman-centric rather than Judeo-centric, either in worship, Judeo-centric, either in worship of Jews, like so many Christians out there, or hatred of Jews. We need to be white and Westman-centric, focused on it. That's our argument. We shared that at length in a fantastic, the best interview she's ever had, Lily Gaddis. She tweets it. And then some Fuentesian shows up and says, I know somebody's been listening to Nick Fuentes. And I'm like, what? What are you even talking about? A member of our community ends up saying, what are you even saying? The only person who argues this is No White Guilt Jason Köhne, and he's the only person I've ever heard, in every single week he's making this argument. Fuentes never. And you're giving this credit to Fuentes. And you have to imagine that that's a bit galling, that I've had decades of upwind against the anti-whites, but even more so against the anti-Jews, who have usurped the representation, just like the conservatives right now through Peter Thiel usurped the leadership of our resistance against our victimizers. And they attack. If you're not doing what they demand, then you're a cult. If you're not talking the way they demand you talk, then you're a cult. If you're not focused on the hating on Jews 24/7, then you're a cult, and you're a cult leader. And I mean, it just goes on and on. These people, the Fuentesians, and I've said, we'll get to this right now. I'm not going to be desultory anymore. We'll get to it right now. But these people think that the world began with Nick Fuentes. Does anybody remember who was the preeminent anti-Jew before Nick Fuentes? Well, most people should probably remember that was Richard Spencer. But how many of you have been around long enough to remember the preeminent anti-Jew before Richard Spencer? Anybody? Matt Hale was before Richard Spencer. And who was the preeminent anti-Jew before Matt Hale? It was Alex Linder. And who before Alex Linder? And to a degree, there's some crossover as contemporaries. I'm just pulling this out of the air, so I can't, put it in perfect order for you. Well, before Linder, you had David Duke and Don Black, and before that, Dr. Pierce, and before that, Tom Metzger, and before that, Kevin Alfred Strom, and before that, Sam Dixon, and before that, Ben Klassen, and before that, Frank Weltner, and before that, you had the preachers. You had Pastor Butler and Pastor Wickstrom, and before that, you had David Lane, and before that, you had Rockwell, and before that, you had William Gailey Simpson, and before that, you had Wilmot Robertson, and before Wilmot Robertson, Instauration. Do you remember? Does anybody even know of these things anymore? Dispossessed Majority, anyone? Before that, you had Revelo P. Oliver. I mean, how many people is that? That's like 20 plus people going back in time, all of them anti-Jews, all of them speaking as, the least among them, of course, is Sam. He actually cares about white people, but the rest, anti-Jews, not concerned about white people, just anti-Jews. They say they care about white people, but really it's just about being anti-Jew. And here you have this community that thinks the world began with Nick Fuentes. Just seriously? It began with Fuentes. I didn't even mention just now clowns like Patrick Little, or how about the Heimbach maneuver himself, Matt Heimbach. How about those people? How about contemporary legitimate researchers like McDonald and Green? How about organization leaders like Mark Collett, Baylog, Warren Baylog, Joey Jordan, Mike Penovich. I didn't even mention organizations like Patriotic Front. How many more? It just goes on and on. So here we have to say, I could go on forever. I've been in this for decades. I know all of your arguments about how it's all the Jews and they are, and I know I've seen it all. I've looked at it all. And the bottom line is all of that has failed. First of all, it's just not fundamentally not true. The vast majority of these people would say, well, it's not every single one when you pin them down. So fundamentally, it's not true. But second, we do not move one jot closer to our well-being by being Judeo-centric, either worshiping them or hating them. That's just my opinion. So let's just do this. Fuentesians, branch Fuentesians. Let's do this. We'll make a deal. And all of the other anti-Jews out there, you stay in your lane. You stay in your lane. As far as I'm concerned, you can talk about anti-white Jews, so Jewish people who are anti-white, all you want. And we over here, we're going to work with a dialogic that has proven wildly successful for white people, individuals, familial, communal, and we will focus on white and Westman, white well-being. We will be white, Westman-centric, and you all can be Judeo-centric. Don't come over here and say that we're illegitimate as advocates for white people because we're not Judeo-centric. You can go ahead and focus on them all you want. You want to focus on them if they're anti-white, more power to you. You want to hate on them because an individual is born Jewish? Get a therapist. Let's not waste any more time. Oh, I do want to look at this. This is hilarious. I'll put it up on the screen. I found this looking for this debate. So I wanted to find a video that somebody hadn't already done a review on. And I came across this newspaper item. This is funny. I shouldn't say newspaper. This obviously is not printed. TikTok star Dean Withers apologizes. This must be, are they out of the country? Are they in Australian English? Would it be spelled that way? Or New Zealand? This has got to be British. Withers apologizes for using anti-gay and racist slurs. Is this real? So the guy who got into this debate with Fuentes is guilty of using anti-gay and, of course, in quotes, racist slurs. TikTok star Dean, and look at this poor soul. What a sad, can you just imagine him crying over saying these comments that weren't anti-white enough, Dean? You got to be super anti-white. You're never going to get forgiveness in this. Talk with me, Dean. I'll explain you. Become white positive. We'll talk it out. You're never going to get forgiveness. This is always going to hang on you. Look at you. You are snow white skin color, which is a beautiful, wonderful thing. I'm pointing out these qualities. Blonde hair, blue-eyed, you're never a good guy. And according to what we do here, the main reason for somebody like Dean Withers to pursue this anti-white track with his intelligence that he got from where? The biospirit of our people, genetics of our people. That's where he got it from. He's a bright young guy. I think he's 20 years old. And where did it come from? It didn't come from his environment. It came from the genetics of our people. And then he's going to take that gift and, like a firearm, turn it around on the well-being of our people. That makes you a piece of shit, Dean. That makes you shit. It makes you garbage. And if nothing else, you can get a non-white girlfriend. You can get a non-white boyfriend. They're never going to accept you. You are always the bad guy. And so, folks, community, what's Dean doing? By being anti-white, by using his intelligence, his wit to go after white people who are not anti-white enough, what's he doing? He's white flighting away from his identity that he can't escape. The essence of what Dean is. He can't escape it. But apparently, this guy, prior to becoming like the white destroying anti-white that he longs to be, He's out there using anti-gay and racial slurs, homosexual slurs, racial slurs. TikTok star Dean Withers, best known for posting about political issues, has apologized for using anti-gay and racist slurs in the past, with some incidents taking place as recently as 2022. Withers, who uses his social media to oppose right-wing conservatives, and whatever that means. What I care about is you're posting white well-being. That's what I care about. That's what we care about. That's what matters in the world. All right. He has more than almost 1 million followers, it says on TikTok, which of course is inflated, like his ego. Took to X Twitter on Sunday to respond to posts circulating about him. He admitted that screenshots showing he had used the F slur. The F slur. Oh, he used the F slur. You know, all of this happens when you're gaming. All of it happens when you're sitting there and you're playing the video games and it just comes out. So F slur 2 years ago, and the N word, whoa, in 2019. He said they were genuine, and he shared a previous Discord response to the post in which he holds himself accountable. Oh, look, so he's self-abasing it. He's bashing himself. He's like the Muslims on that march through Iraq, just beating themselves he's like, God, I'm white and I hate it. I hate it. I said terms that were not anti-white enough. Flog me, kill me. I don't deserve to live. Which means he's going to get tons of funding from Democrat donors, and he's going to be promoted even more on all of these different platforms. The use of slurs, he said, is deplorable, harmful, and disgusting. And I'm ashamed of my boast, my past actions, ashamed of the boy I used to be, and is something that will continue to haunt me. Yeah, it's going to continue to haunt you because anti-whites are always going to remind you about that. Really, you're going to have to give it all up. They're never going to forgive you. It's never going to be okay. You remember, there have been prominent, all the way up. Who's the cartoonist? Who's the cartoonist who just last year suddenly decided, was the beginning of this year, this last year, after a lifetime of being an anti-white, financing anti-white endeavors, being applauded and cheered, all of a sudden he just becomes another old white guy, and they're like, we don't applaud you anymore. Shut up. We don't want to hear your views anymore. And then all of a sudden he's in front of the camera in tears and saying, don't go near black neighborhoods. Don't go, like all of this stuff that he has concealed, that he doesn't live in an all black dangerous neighborhood, right? He doesn't reveal that for all these years because he benefited from anti-whiteism. He was victimizing you, white people. And now you have all these white people who are big fans of Adams. They're like, oh my God, I love him. I love him now. He's speaking the truth. He has victimized you for decades. He's victimized our people for decades. And now when the anti-whites don't want him, you're gonna say, well, he's one of us now. No, forget about it. No forgiveness. And that's how the anti-whites are going to be with Withers here. Withers, which unfortunately for him is spelled the way it is, because it's not withering as like a fire withering a steak. It is withers as in the top of a horse's ass, which is appropriate, which is completely appropriate. Now 20 went on to say that he had apologized to Black, Indigenous, people of color, and the LGBTQ+ community. I would like to personally apologize to all members of the BIPOC and LGBTQ. No, bro, you're going to have to kill yourself. Now, I don't want you to kill yourself, but that would be the only thing, and then they still won't forgive you, okay? I don't know. There's probably more here to laugh about, but I just want to get into the debate. Somebody called Bryce Hall exposed. I guess, exposed all of this. Good on him. Good on him. I mean, hey, nuts. So you're great. And by the way, it galls anti-whites to have a white guy with blonde hair and blue eyes being like their champion, going after all of the MAGA and taking it. Why don't you have like a syphilitic, semi-blackish, wheelchair-bound, genetically female, but identifying as a lawn ornament as your champion? I mean, why not? Anti-whites, why not? That you say that's like the preeminent, and he is a prostitute. Why not? Why this? Why the white guy with the blonde hair and the blue eyes? It's almost like, is he the best that you have? Is he the best? I'm sorry. Is he the best that you have to go up against the right wingers? Martin Luther over there on the live chat on Twitter says hello. Anti-white is amends with you there as well. Sent you a DM. I'll check it out. Clean of white guilt. Serving eyeballs from multiracial Judeo-centrist to my pets for dinner. Okay. All right. Let's see. How should I put it up on the screen? I think I will. I think I want to put it up like this. I've got a couple options, and maybe this is the best. We'll see. Here they are. Now, as I recall, and you all can correct me if I'm wrong, I think this guy here is named Aiden Ross, and obviously some kind of content creator. This guy here is definitely named Sneeko. This guy is Jewish, I'm guessing, named Ross, and the way he looks. This guy, I'm guessing, is Norwegian, by the way he looks. And the Sneeko guy. This, of course, is Dean Withers. Handsome profile. Really handsome profile on this guy. What a shame, huh? What a shame. And then this guy over here, you probably recognize, you might have seen him a time or two. It's Nick Fuentes. Now, to be completely fair with Nick, I thoroughly enjoyed when he obliterated Patrick Little. That was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful thing, especially for me personally, since when Patrick Little showed up, this bizarre, like, out of his mind character trying to take, he got help from people to get into Republican donor dinners. So he got official, I know the exact people, how it happened. And this idiot tried to bring in models of the USS Liberty. He's like, let me bring in my Liberty ship. Let me bring, like, what? And then he always had like that weird tick when he was talking. Like he had absolutely done too many rails of cocaine before the interview and the conversation, whatever it was. And he decides he's going to run for office. And I worked on the Hill, and people came to me and they were all excited. They're like, he's going to win. And I was like, win? What district? District's Feinstein. First of all, he's not even going to win the primary to even face off against Feinstein. No chance in hell. And the white sympathetic sphere attacked the living shit out of me. Attacked me. You must be a Fed. You must be a Jew. To say that he's not going to win, that he doesn't have a chance in hell. And I stuck to my guns, as I always do, because I'm the man. I stuck to my guns. Everybody attacking. They remember the idiotic arguments. They were like, you, Jason, you have no idea how many Asians live in this shit. And all Asians hate Jews. Don't you know that? And I'm like, what are you even talking? Are you brain dead? Like, where are you people found? Where do they drag you out of for these ideas? And why don't you know that you are too dumb to participate in the conversation? Just shut up and let smarter people talk, okay? We're not going to put up with you. But they all attacked me, and I stuck to my guns. I remember Mark got all, he's like, whoa, you're really pissing him off. And I was like, I don't care. He doesn't have a chance in hell. Election comes, totally obliterated. Just as I said, totally less than 1% in the primary. Then he took all the donations that you idiots gave him. All those donations. I can't believe it. Patrick Little going to win in California against Dianne Feinstein. He took all that money and he went on a cross-country vacation with a particular young woman. I'm not going to give her name away. While he was married, doing the same idiotic stuff. So this guy was a total loser. And I knew he was a loser from the beginning, just another anti-Jew loser from the very beginning. And everybody attacked me. And Fuentes then has this debate with him. And back then, by the way, I liked Fuentes. And he made jokes where he would imply that it's the Jews or it's the blacks or whatever. And that's funny. That's funny. Of course, after Patriots Day, maybe it started before Patriots Day. I'm not like a Fuentesian. I'm not following everything. But what I noticed after Patriots Day was a little megalomania setting in. But before then, satirizing these groups and really going after Big Con Inc. and demonstrating that they're not a real representative. I thought that was a really valuable thing to do. And that's always been my position on all of my live streams and all of going back on shows that I've been on all the way going back. So when he got out there and he obliterated Patrick Little, I loved it. Now, this debate comes up, and like I said, I felt like I had to hold my nose a little bit and root for Fuentes, along with the Fuentesians. I had to hold my nose a little bit because the whole megalomania, and he has said a negative thing or two about me, and everybody who ends up in his circles stops talking. They never talk to me again. So it's been a handful of people now. So I had to hold my nose a little bit, but I wanted him to win. And not paying full time and attention, my assessment was that he did not win. I was working while it was going, like I said. And anyhow, but then I saw this like almost Machiavellian assault on Twitter about Fuentes won. And it's one of those kind of things where you're like, methinks the lady doth protest too much. So I figured we would jump in and we'd have a look at this tete-a-tete, and see what we can see.
The first topic, as everyone knows, I told the chat as well, is who is the better presidential candidate. Dean, we'll start with you.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, obviously, I think that the better presidential candidate is Kamala Harris. But I just wanted to clarify with Nick. You said that you're not much of a Trump supporter. So are you voting for Trump?
No, I'm not. I'm not going to vote for him.
Who are you voting for?
By the way, can everybody hear this okay? If they can't, then we'll have to do it another way. Might not be able to. If you can't hear it, then no. Okay, we'll do it this way then.
Sure. Yeah. Well, my name is Nicholas J. Fuentes. I'm a live streamer. I've been doing a show called America First.
How about now?
For 8 years, almost 8 years now. I'm 26, from Chicago. I'm a reactionary, Trump supporter. Well, I was a Trump supporter, not so much anymore, but I'll be defending Trump. That's fine from, debate point of view. And yeah, so that's me. So I'm excited to be here. It's going to be good.
Sweet. Okay. Well, the first topic, as everyone knows, I told the chat as well. you know, is who is the better presidential candidate. Dean, we'll start with you.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, obviously, I think that the better presidential candidate is Kamala Harris. But I just wanted to clarify with Nick. You said that you're not much of a Trump supporter. So, are you voting for Trump?
No, I'm not. I'm not going to vote for him.
Who are you voting for?
I'm not voting.
Oh, okay. Holy shit. Well, I mean, the reason I chose that topic was because, I thought that you were
Fuentes isn't voting for Trump.
voting for Trump. I don't really see much like use in it if you're not voting for Trump. I mean,
Well,
one
it's
could say
worthwhile
you should-
because I'll argue that people should. I'll just argue that Trump is better than. I think that Trump would be a better president, but I'm not going to vote for him.
Okay, yeah, sure.
So we could argue that.
Yeah, I guess we'll start there. I disagree. And
Okay.
one of the main reasons why I disagree, we could come out of the gate swinging, is this economic policy. I think that, it's pretty clear, and we could probably both agree on this, that the average American should be doing better than they are today, and they should not be doing worse than they are today. Donald Trump's
Profound statement right there.
proposed economic policy will make the average American worse off with his tariffs, and then his TCJA.
Make Americans worse off with tariffs. Let me just also say, in the boss bear sexy way, that I'm totally boss bear, in case you can't tell. Boss bear sexy right here. Dean, if you or any of your clan from your old gaming days, when you were wearing them sheets, if you or any of your old clan, if you would like to go white positive, come on, talk to me. You can have socio-political positions that some might say are left on the spectrum, like in the environment, the protection of the environment. We love the environment. We want the environment to be pristine for our people, the animals, the plants. We want it to be clean waters, as Trump would say. We want you to do that. So if you or your clan, your Kluxers, if they want to come over and have a conversation, we're happy to redeem you from your past mistakes. Let's roll.
For another 10 years disproportionately benefits rich people. It will also just add reckless spending to our debt. It will inflate it even more than it is today. I think there's an estimate from the CBO putting that right at $5.8 trillion. He has no fucking plan how he's going to pay for it. Then we look over at Kamala.
I don't remember the cussing, so if there's a bunch of cussing, I just missed it. I've been in too many locker rooms where they grab the cats.
Harris, okay, her proposed tax policy so far is $2.4 trillion. She knows exactly how she's going to pay for it, and they're designed for 100 million American workers in the low and the middle class. And
I can't even hear anything positive about Kamala after these appearances on The View and blowing it on 60 Minutes. And I mean, horrible. Would you do anything different than Biden? No. Like, wait, aren't you supposed to be not Biden? Remember in the debate, you made this argument about how different you are and how you're going to chart a new way forward. And you're telling us you would do everything the same?
It's going to make them better off. Donald Trump is going to make them worse off. Argument's clear.
Okay, that's really superficial position to start off with.
Okay, that's it. It's just the economic proposals. That's all you got?
We could start there.
Okay.
Sure, we can reference other things too. I didn't want to just throw everything at you at once. We could talk about multiple things.
Yeah, well, let me address all that. I mean, so with regard to the tariffs, J.D. Vance pointed this out. The Biden administration continued many of the Trump-era tariffs. So that's kind of a moot point. I mean, I don't know if Kamala's going to. Of course he did. Of course he continued.
No, they continued the tariffs,
China.
but it's not a moot point. I disagree with the Biden-Harris administration because they continued the tariffs on China. But what Donald Trump.
All right, this is dumb. Right off the bat, this is dumb. So what is he's arguing for? Free trade. Free trade. Let's see if I can. Well, let's see what else they say. I mean, if everything was free trade, we would produce nothing in America and the West. Nothing. It would all be like services and banking, and that's all it would be. Because everywhere else on planet Earth is cheaper. Everywhere else to produce. this is, I mean, come on. They're still wet behind. He's still wet behind the ears.
What's proposing today is a 10 to 20% flat tariff on all goods imported into the country, right? I could say that any and all
I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing him. Can you all hear him okay?
tariffs are bad, right? But a 10 to 20% flat tariff on all goods is worse than tariffs on goods imported from China.
I don't think it's a flat tariff. Is that actually the policy? I don't believe that's right.
It is, right? I think that J.D. Vance was talking about this last night at debate. I think you could reference his own policy.
Okay, so in debates, this is why I don't like these faux internet debates. You have a factual dispute here, and he's going to, as an anti-white, he's going to be able to find a website that officially, even departments within the government, anti-whites, they'll take data, they massage data, they torture data, they redefine what they're counting in the data to give proof or evidence, or at least enough nebulosity to say, oh, well, this is all your evidence for this anti-white outcome. So these factual disputes, this is why a long time ago I decided that we're going to handle things very differently. One of the main reasons, not all of the reasons, but here you see how they're coming to this factual dispute, and there's really no way around it.
He's talked about it multiple times in the past. If you don't think this is,
it's only on certain countries. There would be no 15. That doesn't make any sense. There'd be no 15 to 20% tariff. But even if that were the case, fine. Let's say for the sake of argument that's true, because I don't know the Trump policy.
Spud says, great to see you, Spud. After last roll-in and watch this, and to be honest, I get why they were spamming that Fuentes won, because Dean is insufferable snot. And he spends the whole time trying to gotcha. Sloth says Dean is okay with taxing white people in America, but not anti-whites outside it. Well, precisely. You can't put a financial burden on the communist Chinese. How dare you? As he jumps in there with it. And all right. I'm sorry.
They keep saying that Trump is going to put in place, they're calling it a consumption tax. A consumption tax is a value-added tax. They're saying it's going to be like a sales tax. And that's the idea that the taxation occurs at the point of a sale of
That's not what I heard.
Goods. And that's actually a real proposal, but that's different than a tariff because, and here's the difference. When you put it...
And Spud, I would, the Fuentesians, it doesn't matter for Nick. This is Nick's superpower, is the Fuentesians. They're always going to say he's right. They're always going to say that he won. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, it's like, it's truly Machiavellian. That's his superpower, is the Fuentesians. They show up. You know, we get slandered by the regular anti-Jew community. They show up and they're like, oh yeah, you're not anti-Jew? Well, you're a pedophile. You're a Jew. You're a Fed. It's these kinds of slanders. The Fuentesians, when they've shown up, their energy is much more along the line of, your mother hated you. She tried to abort you by having sex with as many men as she possibly could. And then you were born and everything about you is awful and impotent and gay. That's their energy. So they're like piranha for Fuentes. It doesn't matter what actually happens.
Tariff on goods and services, to call that a consumption tax is to imply that the consumer will bear the full cost of the tariff. And that's not necessarily true. Trump had a lot of tariffs in his first term, and the price of goods did not significantly increase in spite of the tariffs. Everybody says that it would only be the case if the full cost of the tariff was passed down to the consumer, but that flies in the face of the fact that foreign corporations will bear the cost of the tariff, or almost all of it. And certainly not all of it is passed down to the consumer. So that's just not true. That's one. Two, with regard to deficit spending, tax policy.
None. It depends. When you see, this is too broad. It's way too broad. And this is, this is like breakfast cereal debating. It's way too broad of a topic. You're including every industry, that is imported into the United States, and you're trying to blanket the totality with these statements. You can't do that. This is the breakfast cereal for the sheeple viewers on the internet. No, the cost of a tariff is borne by the company, and it could be an American that is importing into the United States. Why is it borne by the company? Generally speaking, you have a market, and that's why all of this has to be addressed individually. Let's just say widgets. You have widgets that sell for $20 in the United States, and China is able to sell widgets for $18. Not because their cost is almost $18 per widget, but because they're not going to undercut the American competition by more than that, so that they can have the biggest profit as a consequence. If you analyze widgets coming from China, and this is what you would have to do, widgets coming from China, how much is it actually costing them to produce these widgets and ship them here? And then based on that analysis, you would say, okay, you are going to have to pay this tax, this tariff, to get those widgets into the country. You would give an amount that you know that the company could absorb the totality of. You would want to position them, if you're in the government, you would want to position the foreign company so that they would bear the totality of the cost of that tax, that tariff, and keep their price about where is the going price for widgets, which is where they want to be. They wouldn't elevate, like Dean here seems to be implying, and we'll hear more what he has to say in a minute. But the implication here is that if you were to charge China $5 on each widget, that they would raise the price from 18 and then add 5 to it. And then the American companies presumably would also raise their price, since now that's going maybe $1 less. And therefore, the consumers would have to pay more. And that's just factually wrong. That's not how it works. But he's 20. And this is for people, breakfast cereal debating. Not even going into, really this is like Ricardo, the famous economist. You go to his model about tariffs and free trade. And in his model, he argued for free trade. But in free trade, in his model, he had to freeze capital and labor in each country. So it's total Bravo Sierra. If capital and labor can move, or capital can find labor elsewhere, then capital will. It will always move to where it's cheaper. Do you all remember when Trump was getting in office, Ford was building a factory in Mexico? Cheaper labor, you don't have OSHA, you don't have all these protections, and they were just going to ship them back in the United States. And Trump effectively said, no, we're going to charge the hell out of you to do that. And then Ford then, all they're concerned with is the bottom line. Ford then says, okay, now the bonus that we were going to make, the profit that we were going to make by building in Mexico and shipping to the United States is now erased by the tax we'll have to pay. So now it's going to be cheaper to produce in the United States. You want your country producing things, not services. That's what benefits the country. As far as you're getting into the area of like being able to produce the necessities of war, you can't have this interconnectedness. So in that, to this degree that we have it, you get into this national security issue. We need to be producing the things, including the widgets, that this country needs, that other countries need, especially for things like medicine. We need to produce our own medicine. Not just, it's easy to go straight to like weaponry. I'm sorry, I know I'm getting off on David Ricardo and this long diatribe, but you can't give a blanket statement just to some. You can't give a blanket statement to taxing imports and it's all going to be passed along to the. I mean, think about how superficial this is for this kid to make this come to this conclusion. I want to hear Fuentes make that argument.
See, I mean, you know, I know you're a young guy and everything, but like Republicans and Democrats, there's a bipartisan consensus on spending. Let's just talk about spending. Most of the spending on an annual basis is not even discretionary. Okay, there's mandatory spending and there's discretionary spending. Mandatory spending means you can't change it. Okay, the executive doesn't change it, Congress can barely change it, and that is liabilities like Social Security, Medicare. It's baked into the cake. It's a vast majority of it. And who is going to cut entitlements? Nobody. Republicans aren't proposing to cut.
It sounds to me like Nick is stalling
entitlements, although they'd be more willing to than Democrats. Democrats are certainly not touching entitlements. Biden always.
And now we've also heard, at least this is claimed, and I did notice when I looked at the screen a couple of times that Dean would like smile to himself while it looked like he was reading. And so there's this claim now that he was in his Discord and other people, other anti-whites were in there and they were like, hey, yeah, say this, say that. So we can keep our eye out for that as well.
Attacks Republicans in a State of the Union saying they're trying to touch Social Security. What do you think's driving the deficit of the debt? It's Social Security and Medicare.
What does that have to do with these imports? What the fuck?
It's unfunded liabilities. In terms of military spending has gone up every year under the Biden administration. It's like $850 billion per year. That's the largest item in the discretionary budget. So mandatory spending is going to go up in perpetuity under Democrats and Republicans. Discretionary spending is going to go up because military is by far and away the biggest component of that, and Biden spends more.
Who cares?
And he spends more on military appropriations because of all the foreign aid. We gave $175 billion to Ukraine. We gave $27 billion to Israel, another $8 billion to Israel last week, $7 billion to Taiwan, $1.3 billion to Egypt. That's in addition to the $850 billion per year.
He reads a lot of newspapers.
Which that's like the highest.
Nothing wrong with that, by the way. Nothing wrong with it. That's what he does. And he's excelling. So, and by the way, we don't do so for the content creators out there who you want to be, you're trying to be super popular and everything. We don't compete there. That's not our thing. So we're no threat. Go ahead and be wildly popular on the internet.
Ever under Biden. So, you know, spending's not coming down under anybody.
Yeah, well, that's just wrong. I'm sorry for interrupting you. You can
What's
reference
wrong?
What's
wrong about
claim
it?
that spending didn't go down under Biden and Harris compared to Trump. You could reference a committee.
I didn't
for
say
a
that. I didn't
responsible
say that.
federal budget. You said that spending wasn't going down under anyone, right? We can make a comparative analysis between the two last terms, and we could show how it's gone down. A committee for a responsible federal budget indicated that Donald Trump signed.
Oh gosh, I've had arguments. I don't really call them debates. You can't have a debate unless you have the same objective, in my opinion. But people just like this. And then they go to and this for responsible governance. And it's always some entity that has been organized and funded to find that everything anti-white is legitimate. And in fact, you should have more of it.
$8.7 trillion of debt into law. Meanwhile, Biden and Harris only signed in 4.6. I mean, we could break that down into COVID and non-COVID. Like, for instance, Trump signed $4.8 trillion of non-COVID related expenditures into law. Meanwhile, Biden only signed in $2.2 trillion. But the first point that you made, I wanted to touch on that. You were talking about the tariffs, right?
I would not consent to these numbers that he's reading. Because just like I said earlier, when it comes to the hardcore anti-whites, they will redefine. I mean, look at how much money came out of FEMA. This guy, for these intruders, these anti-white intruders, this guy would not cite FEMA's expenditures in a debate about money set aside for. He would find where the anti-white said, well, just this tiny sliver here is for the immigrants, and then that's what he would cite to you. So I wouldn't accept these numbers.
kind of related it back to how like the Kamala Harris campaign is calling it, like a sales tax, and then that's kind of all you said. Yeah, I don't really care what they're calling it. I agree. That's just a term that they use to convince the average American that doesn't know much about what a tariff is, that it's really bad. But at the end of the day, the impact of the tariff, right, still does serve as a detriment to the consumer. And you were very careful with your words here, because you told me that tax, right, that tariff isn't fully paid by the consumer, implicitly kind of conceding there that some of it is.
Yeah, that was Nick's error. And I did hear the first time this was playing him say that, and that was Nick's error in the debate, the tete-a-tete.
Right, and that's what I'm talking about. That is a tax that in some sorts is passed off to the consumer. We could also consider other attributes, such as the idea when we reduce the overall supply of a good.
I mean, maybe if you had blind, cripple, and crazy writing out the tariffs, but actuaries would do it. It wouldn't be idiots.
With a constant demand, the price will go up. That's basic macro.
Okay, that's the kind of, I can see it coming right now. The effrontery from this little punk. Basic economic 101. It's basic economic 101 that this is going. No, idiot. No. Who is going to write these things out? Obviously, a tariff is not meant to fleece your own population. What in the world? What in the world? And here's the thing. Here are your options. Here are your options when it comes to how to benefit your country and population. You can put a tariff on. You can put a cap on a particular good coming in from a particular country. So you could cap the good. And you could finance, in our case, American companies to compete. I think that's probably the worst way. My guess is that most anti-whites, because they think you give money to it and everything gets better. It's the exact opposite. You need competition. You need a fair playing field and competition, and the best will come to the top, right? So you put tariffs on to equalize, because it's an unequal scenario where you have one country that is able to make widgets for $2, and in America they got to make widgets for $15, and then you have an 18-20 price to the consumer. So that's unfair. That's damaging your country. That's damaging who gives a shit what it does to Chinese communists? Who gives a shit? Let the Chinese government decide what's going to be good for their people. Let our government decide what's going to be good for ours. So by doing this, we have all of this money come in to the government. And then guess what happens? What happens when shit tons of money come into the government from these foreign countries who want to sell to our consumers? We can lower taxes. And when people have more of their own money, they've got more of that money then to spend on widgets. Even if in Dean's fevered wet dream here, that 5 cents more or $1 more on a widget, it went up, that the consumer would have $50 more to spend on widgets because of the money coming into the federal government. Breakfast cereal debating. But this is what the folks show up for.
Economics. That's going to happen when we reduce the imported the amount of imported goods without increasing the amount of like supply manufactured here at home in the U.S. At the end of the day,
listen how fast this guy talks. Is he like half gerbil? What the fuck is going on? Is he like the son of one of these cattle callers selling cattle down in Texas?
Tariffs are bad. This is a unilateral, agreed upon consensus. Republicans and Democrats alike. You go to any economist, they'll tell you this.
Okay, see, right there. Absolutely disingenuous. This is like little debate nerd tactic to make your opposition look dumb. All right. And I'm not a Fuentesian. I'm not a Fuentes. I'm being fair. Okay. That's reality.
Unless they don't have the necessary qualifications to be. And that's a fact. And then when we kind of consider these tariffs alongside his policy disproportionately benefiting the rich man and seemingly at the expense of the poor man with these tariffs, it becomes quite clear.
This is a peculiar thing to watch, because many years ago, it was Fuentes, the 20-year-old who was browbeating the 26-year-olds, 30-year-olds. And now Fuentes is getting browbeaten by this kid. Man, I mean, he's 20.
We want to serve to the average American in their best interests. We need to be voting for Kamala Harris because her policy does exactly that. I mean,
Okay.
83% of the tax
That's just
cuts in the
rhetoric.
TCJA, not at all. 83% of the tax cuts in the TCGA for the last 7 years went to the top 1%. I mean, is that just rhetoric?
Okay,
I mean,
is it my turn?
go for it, sir.
Okay, so with regard to tariffs, yes, some of the cost is passed down to the consumer, but it's marginal. And the point of tariffs is to
don't consent to that.
Reshore manufacturing. I'll give you a perfect example. China has now become the largest manufacturer of electric cars. Huge industry. You could buy an electric car in China for $10,000. Tesla does not cost $10,000. If we allow China to dump their electric cars in America, there goes Tesla. There goes our American electric car manufacturing. It's a national security problem. There's a lot of problems. You have to put tariffs on the cars. Probably China will send them here regardless because they're still so cheap. And yeah, they're not going to be $10,000, but there's a value in making cars in America. There's a value. And by the way, because then Americans get those jobs. So, you know, you could say that free trade creates the lowest costs, but the only reason it creates the lowest costs is because they can undercut us with wages and with their lower standard of living. And
exactly what I said moments ago. You can't have free trade. If everybody had the exact same standard of living in every country, then that could be considered. It's just Econ 101, Dean. It's just Econ 101. This like really calculating way that I'll make the opposition look bad this way.
Monetary policy that they have in their own country. So tariffs are essential for a holistic understanding of the economy. The increase in prices is marginal. It's not significant. And when you call it a consumer tax or a sales tax, you know, that does matter because they're conflating that with a VAT tax. That's very different. The 15, 20% and I don't know that they're doing it on every country, so I'll take your word for it. It's not going to be passed down to consumers beyond a marginal amount. That's one. In terms of, you said, oh, well, Trump had more deficit spending. Almost all of that is accounted for by the pandemic. Almost all of it. When you say, well, the Trump had a $8 trillion deficit, that was because of the COVID stimulus, the PPP, the cash payments.
Half of it.
Almost all of it. And here's the point.
Go to CRDF.org.
Hang on. Hang on. I'll let you finish.
Yes, sir.
You said, so the structural problems with deficit spending, they're there under Trump. They're there under Harris. And by the way, Republicans tried to get limitations on the deficit. That's what they got elected on. Republicans regained control of Congress in 22, saying they'd limit the deficit. They negotiated it over the debt ceiling negotiations last year. They negotiated it over military appropriations last year with the October 1st deadline. Tried to negotiate it this year. Democrats wouldn't come to the table on deficit.
This is a really poor case. This is bad. Yeah. So far, Dean is winning, unfortunately.
Reduction. Either way, like the deficit is baked into the cake. Okay. The debt is.
Well, who cares? What does that? It's totally irrelevant.
$30 trillion. Interest rates are high. Interest to service the debt is going up. Neither Harris or Trump is meaningfully going to reduce the debt or the deficit. So it's just moot. Without bringing down Social Security and Medicare, just forget about it. Without bringing down the military, it's not going to happen. You know, and there are these extraordinary measures like COVID and Ukraine war. It's really neither here nor there. Also, I mean, I think deficit is really besides the point. If you want to get further into the deficit,
I've heard a Republican say that. By the way.
Yeah, well, I'm not a normal Republican. I'm not like a fiscal conservative, okay? Look,
do you mind if I respond to the points that you made so far?
What's that?
Do you mind if I respond to the points that you've made so far?
Yeah, go ahead.
Lose track of what you said.
Sure.
So, like, first of all, you said
real quick, Dean, I'm not cutting you off. Guys, we just have 10 minutes on this topic. Just 10 more minutes on this topic. Go ahead, Dean.
Okay,
right. So the first claim that you made, that tariff isn't passed off to the consumer, yeah, that's wrong, because what would the point of the tariff be then? Okay, we see an increase in domestic production given tariffs.
What would the point of the tariff be if not to pass the cost along to your own citizens? Why? Fuentes, what are you doing? What are you doing? You do the snarky thing. Be irreverent and snarky. What are you doing? That's a ridiculous statement.
Because that is passed off to the consumer. Would you agree there?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, so then why do we see an increase in domestic production given tariffs?
Because when you produce something in China, you can make it for cheaper, so your margin is bigger, so you can undercut
But you make
prices.
it more expensive for the consumer at the grocery store by imposing those tariffs, right? And then secondly,
Not necessarily.
I agree with you.
Again, because the China will pay the tariff to get their goods to the market because they need access to the market.
But then why won't we buy it? Because it costs more money. Right. And that's my whole argument is that tariffs cause the end consumer to pay more at the grocery store, to pay more at Best Buy, to pay more at the car dealership.
Do you know what a tariff is?
There's another point that you brought up there. It's a tax on an import. And there's
the foreign country, in this case China, cannot charge more than the market will pay. So if the previous price of widgets was 20 and China was able to undercut American businesses at 18, first of all, the actuaries would not impose a tariff that would make it economically impossible for the Chinese to still sell the widgets. But let's say they even, if China wanted, like stupidly, like this Dean is saying, to pass everything along, they couldn't price their widgets at $25 and then have people buy them.
There's another point that you brought up there about how we want to like spur domestic production of goods. I don't disagree. I absolutely agree. We should have a more industrialized economy where we produce goods here at home in America. We just disagree on how we get there, right? How
do we get there without tariffs?
Yeah, sure. Right, by driving further competition through the natural market. We do that via investment.
What's the natural market?
We do that by investing in money. Investing in money. That was crazy. Investing in the U.S. producers of goods, like the Chips and Science Act under Biden.
No, you don't do that. You don't. Yes, he was right up to that point where he said when he suddenly veered off the cliff into Pinko land. You want to create a playing field where there can be robust competition. You don't finance American companies.
In Harris's administration that invested billions of dollars into U.S. chip producers to further drive competition, right, with those imported goods, just via innovation in the product, right? And
you're going to end up with Boeing, and everything's going to suck. That's why Boeing sucks, because Airbus is not allowed to compete. Airbus, they can make their proposals. They can say we'll charge this much, but the government is always goes with, and as a consequence, it falls out of the air now. You can't fly it from the space station back down to Earth anymore.
Fact that you as a conservative are sitting here telling me that we need a government to impose a regulation on the free market by tariffing those goods that are being imported to our country is just new. You know what I mean? Right?
Well, it may be new to you because like your only context of Republican is like Reagan. But if you go back to Henry Clay and Friedrich List and the American system, Alexander Hamilton, the country was basically funded by tariffs until we had an income tax.
Yeah, do you know why?
We only had an income tax 100 years ago. Before that, the federal government made its money from tariffs.
Yeah, but you know why?
It's basic mercantilism because we want to make the.
I mean, that's kind of leaving out. That's a broad statement. It's leaving out how the states had to finance the federal government, and the federal government, the majority of those, the majority vote were the New England states, and they compelled the southern states, the agricultural states, to finance the federal almost entirely. That ignores that. I mean, North Carolina and Virginia almost entirely funded the federal government and the war for the American Revolution.
Stuff. And by the way, when you say, well, we're just going to invest, it doesn't work. China's dollar goes 3 times as far because the standard of living is lower. They're rich in raw materials. They have an endless supply of labor, cheap labor.
And don't forget to mention the manipulation of their currency.
The idea you're going to chips and sciences your way out of China having systemic advantages, economic factors of production like labor. They have 1.5 billion people. You're not going to pass a bill that's going to change those fundamental imbalances in the economy. We have capital, we have tech, we have entrepreneurship. They have labor. Okay, it's the same reason. Hang on, and it's the same reason why we're even, when we try to, they call it friend shoring, we're going to take our factories from China and give them to our allies like Philippines. It's still going to China because they have all the cheap labor. You just can't compete with that. You can't compete with the fact that they make everything, they have all the people. So you agree that we should reindustrialize. You literally cannot do that unless you protect industry. And by the way, China has tariffs too. All countries have tariffs. We're the country that doesn't have tariffs. They're eating our lunch as a result. So, that's just not true. What you're saying isn't true.
No, Donald Trump's taken away the average American's lunch as a result. Like, once again, we've already went over how tariffs can cause prices at the grocery store to go higher. Every single time we've historically increased tariffs on China, what have we seen? A reduction in U.S. agricultural exports. What did Trump have to do when he imposed his tariffs on China? He had to bail out American farmers with $28 billion.
Where's the causation? Let's actually have a look at that.
You say you want American industrialization. You say you want more U.S. production of goods. But then you also say that you want these tariffs on China to absolutely destroy American farmers, and you want the average American to be worse off, meaning they have less economic mobility to go and start a business in the first place. This is why Kamala Harris's tax policy is better, right? Because
this
what
is
we're not
like
going to
Democrat talking points.
Okay, well, can you dispute them?
Yeah, like I said, tariffs, the other country will pay the cost of the tariff. Okay, you're saying consumers will pay it, and that's just wrong. Okay,
so you
under
don't
the
think that
Trump
tariffs
administration,
drive
hang
up
on,
the price of
Trump
goods?
administration, I'll give you a perfect example. Trump administration implemented tariffs against Canada, against Europe, against China. Inflation was low. Hang on, inflation was like 1.3% under Trump. Okay, so if what you're saying is true, that the cost of the tariff would be passed down to the consumer 1-to-1 or even significantly, inflation would not remain at or around 1%. Why? If, and by the way, Biden administration has tariffs too. Inflation is very high, but the cost of goods going up has everything to do with fuel prices going up.
Hey guys, we got 5 more minutes.
Because of the war in Ukraine.
Hey,
And it's
5 more minutes.
Everything to do
5 more
with
minutes, Nick.
Okay.
A very
Got it.
crucial point. A very
With the
crucial point here.
quantitative easing.
If they don't cause inflation of the pricing of goods at the grocery store, then why would we see an increase in domestic production?
Because it will make it competitive for America to make the same things.
How?
If China, because it's basic math. If it costs I'm going to, if you stop interrupting me. If it costs less to make something in China because they have abundant labor than it does in the United States, then China can sell it at a lower price because their cost is lower. But if we make them pay more...
Look at this smile, this calculating smile on Withers there.
...to bring their goods to the market, then they have to sell it for more. Or they have to pay the tariff and they make less profit. And that makes it profitable for American companies to make... Can you stop interrupting me? Can you...
Chinese products cost more.
Can you stop interrupting me, please?
Consumer? Sure.
It adds, but who pays the cost? China pays the cost to bring it to the market, not the consumer.
So you see how that position by Fuentes was outmaneuvered by Dean. I would never give that up. First of all, it's just inaccurate that prices are all going to be passed on to the consumer. That would be the fault of the actuaries responsible for determining what this tax will be on these companies if that happened. They are going to bear the burden of the cost, and it won't be passed along because it will be assessed in a way that China's going to be able to continue to be competitive in the widget market. If it seems like what Dean is doing here, it's like Dean is not winning, but Fuentes is losing. That's what it seems like right now to me on this topic. What Dean is doing is saying, if a Chinese manufacturer of widgets raised their price at all, subsequent to, but not as a result of the tax placed on the product coming into the country, then the consumer American is paying more, and so therefore we shouldn't have these tariffs.
Consumer.
And who pays the cost once it's in the market?
Correlation.
Well, the consumer does.
Thank you.
See,
but they're buying what they're already buying.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Dean's not winning, but Fuentes is losing here. He probably kicked himself after the debate.
They're just buying it from an American producer.
Yeah, for a higher price, right?
Yeah, so for a slightly marginally higher price, so we can have American production.
Okay. Yeah.
And you see how so much of this breakfast cereal type of debating is like the effrontery. It's the presentation. It's the calculated laughter. It's all of that sort of thing, rather than something of substance. The topic, the subject matter was too broad to be addressed by that question. They would have to zero in on specific imports and have that conversation. And then both debaters would have to want to have the same outcome, and they would have to be studied in the intricacies of that particular import. But then again, who's going to watch that, right? That would be like two totally dry guys, probably like in their 40s. Stacks of papers around them.
Economies of scale.
Thank you.
It stimulates American industry, and then America's able to produce what China would ordinarily produce.
Okay. All right. And America will produce it for a more expensive price because we don't have as cheap of labor as
it protects the American industry, which
by
is
causing
undercut.
inflation, right? Can you agree with me there?
Marginal.
Oh, see, that's totally he shouldn't have said that. It's not going to ipso facto result in elevated prices. The market, what the market pays for the widget is what it pays for the widget. A competitor, an upstart, is going to have to do a number of things better than an established entity selling widgets. And one of those things it's going to have to do better, it's going to have to either provide better services along with this widget, a better widget, so you're getting a better widget for the value, and being produced in the United States, it's going to cost more, so the amount they're going to make is going to be less, and that's going to be the burden they're going to have to suffer for a time, and that aspect of the growth of said company. Or they're going to have to charge less for their widget to be able to eke out a share and thereby take less profit, of course, to eke out a share of the market of widgets. It's not that they all charge more. I don't know how Dean gets to this. They all charge more, except maybe that it's the opposite thing that Trump wants to do, and so therefore he's looking for arguments to support his position.
It's marginal.
But I would not, definitely Nick's position that, people are going to pay more marginally. They're going to pay more, but it's good for the country. It's good for the long. It's weak argument.
Increases.
But either way,
we're getting somewhere.
But it's really neither here. Well, and I said that earlier, so it's the same thing. But
how snarky of that little bitch. So you agree with me. So we're getting somewhere.
Either way, the Biden administration has tariffs too. So it's basically a moot point.
No, it's not a moot point because once again,
that's where they started.
But you disagree with the Biden administration's policy, right?
Absolutely. Right.
Okay.
I do disagree with tariffs.
What are we even arguing about?
110%.
Trump had tariffs. Biden has tariffs. Tariffs protect industry in America. You support that.
Slotz is right that Nick lost this point despite being right.
No, so the reason that this is a bad argument is because Trump wants more tariffs, right? I don't understand how this isn't evidently clear. I think what you're trying to do is kind of confuse people between me saying that tariffs that Biden and Harris imposed were bad, and me saying that when Donald Trump is elected.
By the way, the effects of soy on the young males of this country are on display.
That he wants to impose all tariffs on all imported goods. Right, one is just worse than another. Okay, so
they're not putting tariffs on all imported goods.
Okay, does he just want to keep the ones on China?
It's going to be on. I don't know the Trump policy, but it's not on all imported goods. That's just
okay. So then, how is he going to pay for the $4.8 trillion associated?
You can
with
fact check that.
Then how is he going to pay for?
Look, all of the debt. People talk about this all the time. We have the United States, and why the people with the big bucks. I mean, there are some other reasons as well that we don't have time to get into. But the value that we have in minerals and ore, oil, natural gas exceed our debt by many, many times And so that's why there isn't huge panic, aside from the other machinations that shady people in economic circles talk about among themselves.
Borrowing like they pay for all, like how they pay for 175 billion to.
And what's the biggest expense of our government?
Liabilities.
Liabilities, no. It's interest on
Medicare,
debt.
Social Security. That's totally wrong.
No, the biggest expense of our federal government is interest on debt.
Totally wrong.
Okay, I don't think that's wrong.
It's
In fact, I think that is
liabilities.
totally correct.
Okay, we're wrapping
Okay.
up on time here. Let's we'll give a.
Well, you're
closing
wrong on the
statement.
Trump policy and you're wrong on spending.
Okay,
You're
we'll give
just
a 1
wrong.
minute closing to Dean started, so we'll a 1 minute closing for Dean and then 1 minute for Nick.
Oh, you could go first, Nick.
Who gave the first opening statement? You or me?
It was Dean who started first.
Yeah, so Dean, we want to let Nick finish.
That means I go last. That means I go last.
Dean, you start.
And then Dean, the next one, Nick will start.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's fine. I was just looking first, so I should justify what I said there. So yeah, my closing statement would just be, all right, obviously I think that economic policy is a very prime reason to vote for Kamala Harris because she's going to make the average American better off. Donald Trump is not going to make the average American the better off. He's going to make them worse off with his tariffs. Right. Nick essentially did concede there.
Gosh, I feel like we just went back to high school, junior high, with this closing statement.
Saying that tariffs do cause higher prices for the consumers at the grocery store. And then Nick also just kind of says that he doesn't really care about debt. Okay, so
True.
If you want more debt, vote for Donald Trump because he's going to throw $5.8 trillion on our nation's debt. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris's proposed tax policy is going to be self-sufficient over the 10-year lifespan of the bill. And then one other final point here, there's much more reasons why Kamala Harris is a better candidate than Donald Trump that we didn't get a touch on, such as the fact that we probably shouldn't be voting for a rapist. We probably shouldn't be voting for
my gosh. Shouldn't be voting for a rapist, says the Klansman here.
Religious persecutor. We should probably be voting for the individual that wants to enshrine federal protections for all 170 million
He's a
American
rapist, he's a racist, and a religious persecutor, says the Klansman.
women and girls' right to choose, right? And plenty of other reasons that we didn't get to. And I'm sad that we didn't. And hopefully we might be able to get back around to it later. But I'll go ahead and concede the rest of my time. Take it away.
Yeah. All right. Well, Aiden and Sneeko, could we do immigration? I feel like that's a big one. We could do a few of these other issues.
Real quick,
it's a big issue.
Can you just do your statement really quick?
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, can we make that one of the topics?
Well, that's something that we had to talk about prior. Dean, if you would like to as well, we could do that this next.
Can you repeat that? I was a little
He
bit.
wants to talk about immigration if you want to keep Trump or Kamala going. We have other subjects, but on the subject of Trump or Kamala.
You guys didn't agree to that prior, but if you guys want to agree to do an immigration, we can do that next. It's up to you guys. Both of you have to agree.
Yeah, you just want to see. I mean, like maybe we could throw it in there at the end. I mean, get through before topics.
Come
we have to
on.
move on,
Sure.
And if there's time, we might be able to talk about it.
Okay, so please give your closing statement, Nick.
Yeah. So, I mean, my closing statement on Trump, I don't even think fiscal policy is the biggest issue. To me, that's really a side issue. And the reason is because both parties are profligate spenders. Republicans down.
What matters is the racial issue, the racial composition, because it is the instinct of a people that determines the culture and therefore the country. That's what matters most of all. Everything else is secondary, tertiary.
Democrats are both profligate spenders. Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, they're all huge spenders. They're huge spenders on the military. They're not touching liabilities. You know, there's talk about tax cuts, increasing the deficit. You could look at the Laffer curve and, you know, debate whether that's really the case. I mean, the theory behind tax cuts is that it stimulates economic growth, which it certainly does. It brings in more tax revenue. Maybe you find that convincing. Maybe you don't. Point is, neither party's going to rein in the deficit. I just don't think it's an issue. In terms of tariffs, the consensus has changed. Democrats and Republicans used to be free traders. They're not anymore. Bill Clinton, Bush, Obama were free traders. They're just not anymore. Trump is not a free trader. Biden's not a free trader. Trump has tariffs. Biden has tariffs. And that's because there's a recognition that we need to have a supply chain in America. 85% of the economy in America is services. Only 15% is construction, agriculture, and manufacturing. And this is it's not only a national security issue, but it's also a jobs issue. We need to make stuff in America. The only way that we're going to beat these other countries that are undercutting us with wages is with tariffs to protect our industries. And yes, that does result.
We need to be cupidinous.
In technically marginally higher consumer prices,
seconds,
but
Nick.
it's more important to have good jobs in industry.
All right, that was good. So we'll circle back to Trump and Kamala, but to keep it on the subject, we have 4 very different topics right now.
Real quick before I just
Who said Kamala? I like that. Whoever that is. That's her name, Kamala.
want to say thank you both for giving you guys, you guys are very letting each other talk and stuff. Thank you. I appreciate that. Go ahead, Sneeko. I'm sorry to cut you off.
All right, so the next subject that we agreed upon was Christianity, but to make it interesting, Nick, we can be more specific. We could talk about Christian nationalism.
Sure.
Okay, so the subject will be, is Christian nationalism good or bad? And
okay.
Well, let's start with Nick because we started with Dean last time. We'll do let's do 3-minute intro. I'll give you a 1-minute warning, and then I'll give Dean a 3-minute intro, and then we'll go free flowing. And if it's interruptions, we'll time it. But I think it was good so far. But Nick, take the floor. 3 minutes.
Okay. Well, I believe that America should have a religious government. We should have a Christian Catholic government.
He didn't like that.
And
This is going to be interesting.
we have to face the fact that liberalism has failed. And the best example that liberalism is failing is that we're not having.
I think we'll do one more of their topics today, and then we'll look at some memes, and then we'll think about maybe if people want, we can check out the rest of it another day.
Enough kids. The society, the civilization that doesn't have kids will cease to exist, and it will lose. And it is losing.
All right, first of all, it's a non-starter to say a Catholic-run America. I mean, just a non-starter position.
Liberalism around the world is receding, and these more ancient, tribal, perennial cultures are thriving. Islam is the fastest growing religion. China is on the rise. Tribalism, racialism, all these things, all these revanchist, historic ideologies are on the rise, and they're all beating back liberalism because liberalism is weak. It is ineffectual. It's causing all kinds of perversity, degeneracy. People are not having kids. It's just sort of like anti-human and inimical to the human body. So, I mean,
Islam benefits from the ideology of anti-whiteism. It's just folding nicely right into anti-whiteism. It's not beating it back.
In addition to Catholicism and Christianity being true, liberalism is clearly bankrupt. Liberalism is clearly having a hard time. I think we should replace our state religion of liberalism with the state religion of Christianity. And I'm interested to see where Dean wants to take it, because obviously it's a huge topic, but I think we should have a Catholic country, not a liberal atheist one.
Yeah, I guess we'll get our marching orders from the Pope. That sounds like a plan, given all the things coming out of his mouth lately.
I think that there's a lot of different ways that a conversation about Christian nationalism can go. I mean, I've debated people on Christian nationalism before that will concede even if Christianity's false, right? We should still be, a country that upholds Christian nationalism because it promotes better outcomes. But I think there's a couple points there that you made I'd just like to respond to real quick about declining birth rates, immigration. That's crazy. Then about, a couple of the other points that you brought up. I particularly think that Christian nationalism is bad because it doesn't allow us to effectively legislate. Given like the Christian religion, right, we are led to believe that particular things are wrong because God said so.
Oh, wow. This is not going to go well for Fuentes right now. Right now, I can tell you right now, the direction that he's going to take is going to be legislation is impossible where God has said, I am God. This is the case. You won't be able to legislate.
You said that you're a Catholic. I think in the Catholic faith, you'll kind of have a different range on how bad things are. Something can be a mortal sin, a venial sin. But something that I'd say here that is a very absurd conclusion given Christian nationalism is shit like blasphemy. So like blasphemy as defined by the Bible is the worst sin that anyone can commit. Does that mean that people should go to jail for life for blasphemy? Well, I don't know, because we know that people.
God, he's like, is he about to explode? What is wrong with all of these like under 30-year-old, maybe under 35-year-old, the shots they got, the chicken tenders, mom's chicken nuggets that were not actual chicken, not even meat. What's going on? He's about to like explode. His little noodle arms are going everywhere. He's like, "Rah!" Somebody's pulling the strings on him. Probably a girlfriend.
people should go to jail for life for murder, and if blasphemy is worse than murder, and we're operating under a system in a society with a government that legislates on the basis of the Bible and these foundational beliefs as prescribed by Christianity, are we going to start sending people to jail for blasphemy too?
This is actually the kind of arguments that Dean is making here are arguments that I have made in years and years and years ago in different contexts, where people argued that there should be like this religious control over the country. This and many other arguments make it a non-starter. Just won't happen. Can't happen. But it is relevant to point out that when the founding fathers gave us freedom of religion, Islam was not present. Judaism, there were a very small number of Jews, very tiny number of Jews, but Judaism wasn't present. And we can say that because there was no Islam. So the founding fathers absolutely did not say, okay, Jews can decide what's good for America, and white people, the founding stock of the country. And they certainly didn't say Arabs, Islamic Arabs, or Arabs of, Islamists of any race can be present and can effectuate outcomes that they effectuate everywhere else in the world. So that's just a little, toss that in.
I don't see how you'd be able to respond to that. I don't. And then like a couple other things that we could say here. The Bible promotes very harmful, bad beliefs. 1 Samuel 15:3, God tells Saul and his men to genocide the Amalekite men, women, and girls. I bet if I was to engage in a conversation with this guy specifically about 1 Samuel 15:3, he'll end up saying that sometimes genocide's okay. Leviticus 20.
Oh, when he said this guy, he meant Fuentes. How unscrupulous. Man. Talk about sitting around and getting practiced at this kind of thing so that by the time you hit 20, this is like your apex display.
5 verses 44 through 46. God tells the Israelites that they can own the non-Israelites as human property for life.
Meanwhile, in the Confederacy, 13, 14, 15-year-old boys went to war.
I bet if I was to have a conversation with this guy about that topic, he'd end up saying that no, slavery hasn't always been wrong, alongside other things, right? So we could talk about how Christianity is false.
Now, Dean is only going to be talking about slavery practiced by white people, not talking about white people ending slavery, and not talking about non-white people practicing slavery.
Talk about how it doesn't allow us to effectively legislate. We could talk about the absurdities that are already present in the Bible. But one last point that I'd like to bring up is if you're going to make an argument on the basis of the...
Folks, I do not have this on fast speed. This is not fast mo. This is how this Captain Crunch eating kid talks. Okay. All right. Sorry.
Efficacy and the outcomes in which it would generate in society, which seemingly you started to there. Well, what if we find another religion that generates...
What did he just become, like, divine? How did his voice do that?
Generates better outcomes than the one that you hold to.
1 minute.
Okay, so the reason that you want a Christian nation is because it will promote human well-being and happiness. People are going to be having more kids and following these commandments. They'll be doing good. No degeneracy, none of that shit. Well, what if I told you that the LDS church had even better outcomes than the Catholic Church? Would you all of a sudden be in support of an LDS-led state? Probably not. Okay, right? So that's another contradiction on its own. So feel free to...
That head tilt by Fuente. You read. I'm an expert at reading. That was a conceding. I don't know how to get out of that.
Kind of pick and choose there, respond to the point that you want, take it away.
So you said about birth rates or immigration. Well, here's the problem. Okay, one, the people that have liberalism are killing themselves. Okay, so the people that invented liberalism, that live in liberal societies, literally and figuratively are killing themselves.
Just call
they're committing
it what they
suicide. They're
well,
dying.
The guy
deaths
that
of
you
despair.
worship.
Okay, are you going to interrupt
himself.
me like 30 seconds into my rebuttal? That's crazy.
Let's
no
calm the
confidence in
interruptions down.
liberalism.
It's been good.
They
Right.
commit
I'm
suicide. They die from deaths of despair. They're addicted to drugs. All kinds of things. They're all dying over.
Yeah, look, and this is actually a conservative argument that was around all the way back during Contract for America, folks, all the way back, that our victory is inevitable. It's inevitable because what we call the anti-white, the hardcore anti-whites, they would call liberals, it was all liberals back then. There was no woke. They didn't choose those names and then have you all repeat it. Back then, they said, oh, the liberals, they don't have kids. They have homosexual marriages. And if they have children, it's only 1 or 2. And they use a lot of drugs and they're killing themselves. Our victory is inevitable. Really? Hey, Gingrich, you're still alive. Did it work out the way you thought, buddy? Did it work out the way you thought, Contract for America? Although, kudos to him. I think the Democrats had controlled the House for like 40 years by the time he stepped in with the Contract for America and took it away from him.
There. Okay, we're dying in America. We're dying in Europe. And by the way, these people come from non-liberal or illiberal societies, and then their birth rate goes down. So even...
Could you imagine using the name that your victimizer wants to be called, calling them liberal, and then saying the opposite of that is illiberal?
If you wanted to...
You have these, my victimizer wants to be called cherub, so I'll call him that. And these other societies are ill cherub.
Argue, oh, well, like, we could salvage liberalism with an endless supply of immigration from illiberal societies that have kids. When they get here, their birth rate goes down. And these are not liberal people. They come from illiberal places like China or Africa or Latin America. They come here, they assimilate, and within a few generations, the birth rate goes down because liberalism is suicidal. With regard to the question about efficacy and outcomes, I'm not arguing that we should have the religion with the best efficacy. I said liberalism has failed, and we know it's failed because it's committing suicide.
Now, do you understand the head tilt? Do you understand the head tilt? When Dean was I right about the head tilt? When Dean pointed out that Mormons have a better outcome as far as like measuring for children and all, and these sorts of factors relative to Catholics. By the way, I mean, the Mormons are taking over Central South America from the Catholics. Now he says, well, we don't need the best outcomes. It just has to be Catholic, like me, Nick Fuentes.
So clearly liberalism as a system is not working. And that's why, it's such a radical notion. People think that we would have blasphemy laws or religious laws. They think it's a radical notion. It's unthinkable. The current system must be...
What is that like a Dean doing? Is that like a small Sig Heil that he's doing there?
Placed. It's an imperative. It's not a question of,
That's what he does when he wants to speak around his girlfriend.
Whether or how or anything like that. It simply must be because it will cease to exist. And so that's really the crux of the argument. Why it should be Catholicism. It's because Catholicism is true. But the point I'm trying to make is for people that say it's so radical that we would go backwards. I would say we went backwards with liberalism as evidenced by the fact that it's not even reproducing itself. And that's a huge problem.
It absolutely is. I argued all the way back then. 2000. Now that was, of course, after Gingrich, but all the way back then that they are reproducing themselves. It's every fucking kid in every classroom. They don't need to have literal babies because they use this brain poisoning of anti-whiteism to indoctrinate all of our children.
With regard to the stuff about the Old Testament.
Slotz is right. Bird feed gets bird chirping.
I mean, look, the Catholic Church, Christians today are not in favor of genocide or slavery. If you want to get into that, this is just like new atheism 101. Are you an atheist? Are you an atheist or something?
I'm an agnostic, but I wouldn't particularly use these verses in the Bible to say that your religion is false. I use these verses in the Bible to say that your religion is absurd. To say that your religion is false.
I just wanted to ask.
Okay, see, that's a really unfair tactic by Dean Withers. He's got an empty head because he's young and a good memory. So he's memorizing play. He could memorize a lot of different verses in the Bible, find the contradictions, find where it is harmful. And that's simply unfair because it ignores some massive contexts about application. These people who hate Christianity, and I'm not saying that he does, maybe he does, but the people who also hate Christianity and think that it's got to be eradicated for white people to survive, they do the same thing, largely, not entirely.
That, and then let me finish the last point. So it's very funny when atheists who have no objective source of morality, it's like, you know, their morality is something like, hey, man, just leave everybody alone. What if I disagree? What if my morality says, well, I want to kill everybody or something? What if the majority of people said,
well, of course he would go there. Just was to kill everybody. Oh, shit. Where were we?
Morality doesn't exist. Nothing's
in your
objectively
opinion
or
is
right
wrong?
because that's standard.
In self-defense or self-defense of my children, it's a different story. God commanding the people of the Old Testament is an extraordinary exception based on the fallen old world. That's one. Two, when Jesus Christ arrives, he fulfills the law and saves people from hell. Before Jesus Christ arrived, nobody could even go to heaven, and it was a world of iniquity. And Jesus Christ changed and created this modern world that we're living in. So now here's the thing. God is the authority. If God commands us to, look, I know it's a complicated issue. You can't fit it into a TikTok.
I did not do that to it. Let's see where we were.
Samuel 15:3, God commands Solomon
but see, that's
to
the problem.
kill babies. But you are not answering my question.
You know, if you want to get into that, this is just like new atheism 101. Like, are you an atheist? Are you an atheist or something?
I like that or something.
I wouldn't particularly use these verses in the Bible to say that your religion is false. I use these verses in the Bible to say that your religion's absurd. To say that your religion is false.
I just wanted to ask you that, and then let me finish the last point. So it's very funny when atheists who have no objective source of morality, it's like, you know, their morality is something like, hey, man, just leave everybody alone. What if I disagree? What if my morality says, well, I want to kill everybody or something? What if the majority of people said our morality says, well, we want to harm and we want to rape and we want to do this and that? An atheist has no God that says, well, you know, so-and-so has the authority to say this is correct. That's a problem. And yet they have a problem with blasphemy laws. It is good to have a God that is a source of authority, that gives us our morality, that is unquestionable. With regard to the Old Testament, if you want to get into the debate about, you know, what's bad, I would start with the question of how do you know what's bad?
Hey, Nick, I'm sorry
You
to cut
claim
you
that
off.
certain
Nick,
things are bad. You don't know where good and bad comes from. And how do we know the good and bad are even real? If we're all material, if we're only atoms and we don't have souls, why does it matter what happens to any of us? I mean, what is justice? Is there such a thing as the conceptual if there is only matter?
Samuski says Fuentes is the reason we are here to guard against as a misleader. Well put, right out of the dialogic. Spud says there's only a couple of times where there's that error in the microphone. Thank you for that.
Where is the conceptual? Can we see it? Can we feel it? Is it located somewhere?
One of those points?
Let's let you respond now.
Well, and I'm making a point here. I'll wrap it up quickly. So for an atheist to point to the Old Testament and say, well, you know, how could a God who does these things be so immoral? I would say to the godless, what is moral and who are we if we're not just stardust being rearranged? I mean, slavery, these things, these are conceptual. It can only.
Yeah, this is an easy argument to make against an atheist, certainly. And many agnostics sort of fall into, actually a lot of atheists are really agnostics, but many agnostics fall into the same line of thinking where they make the error of they'll talk about morality while condemning the basis for morality.
Exist with a real philosophical viewpoint, not with this kind of lame like Sky Daddy isn't real sort of stuff. So, you know, there's just a lot of assumptions there that kind of.
Very true point. Westman Positivity says blasphemy laws against white well-being will be enforced against all anti-white screed or doctrine or, yeah, that's what we would do. But right now, like on the flip side of it, it's heresy to anti-whiteism because that is the ideology of the day, as Christianity was the ideology of Europe.
Kind of need to be interrogated.
Okay, Dean.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think
before
what
you go,
needs to
Dean.
be interrogated is the fact that you asked me, well, what do I do with a group of people who likes to murder, rape, and kill others? What if God said that?
This is what I sounded like, by the way, when I was 6 years old. What if God said that?
You know, I think that's a question that we need to ask.
Then we would have to do it.
Wait, really? If God told you to rape and kill a baby, would you do it?
Well, God would never do that.
Whoa, okay. Fuentes is in some trouble. Dean has him on the ropes. What if God says? Fuentes says we'd have to do it.
Because God is good and those things are evil.
Okay, so raping and killing is evil. So when he commanded
Well,
people to
Ace, you
kill the
said
babies in
raping
Malachi
babies.
in 1 Samuel 15:3, that was evil?
God is telling us to rape and kill babies right now.
So specifically about killing, in 1 Samuel 15:3, he did command Saul and his men to kill the Amalekite babies.
Rape babies? He told them to rape babies?
Oh boy, he's just ignoring. Yeah, that's not good. It's a really weak position to have to defend. Anyhow. But Fuentes is intentionally ignoring the very specific question. And that's a 36-36. Let's step back.
A God who does these things be so immoral? I would say to the godless, what is moral and who are we if we're not just
That's
stardust
strong.
being
Good.
rearranged? I mean, slavery, these things, these are conceptual. It can only exist with a real philosophical viewpoint, not with this kind of lame, like, Sky Daddy isn't real sort of stuff. So, there's just a lot of assumptions there that kind of need to be interrogated.
Okay, Dean.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think
before
what
you go,
needs to
Dean.
be interrogated is the fact that you asked me, well, what do I do with a group of people who likes to murder, rape, and kill others? What if God said that?
Then
I think that's a question that we need to ask.
Then we would have to do it.
Wait, really? If God told you to rape and kill a baby, would you do it?
Well, God would never do that because God is good and those things are evil.
Okay, so raping and killing is evil. So when he commanded people
Ace,
to
you
kill the
said
babies in
raping
Malachi
babies.
in 1 Samuel 15:3, that was evil?
God is telling us to rape and kill babies right now.
So specifically about killing, in 1 Samuel 15:3, he did command Saul and his men to kill the Amalekite baby.
You all know what's happening right now, what Dean Withers, as an anti-white, is doing. What is this called? We never engage in this. Anti-white hypothetical. You never engage. You attack on why they would create an anti-white hypothetical.
Rape babies? He told them to rape babies?
No, to kill babies.
Well, yeah, then if I were one of those guys, I would have done it, but not rape them.
Okay, so if God commanded you to kill a baby today, would you do it?
Yes.
Oh my God. No way. Wow. Follow this anti-white down an anti-white hypothetical about God ordering people to murder children and or rape them today. And then you get put in a position of, in this person's hypothetical, this anti-white hypothetical, if God tells you to kill babies, what are you going to do? Would you kill babies? And Fuentes just said yes, unironically.
Okay, so why would you kill a baby, but you wouldn't rape a baby?
Dean, are you brain dead? You just set off an atomic bomb. Why are you asking this ancillary question?
Because that would be cruel or something.
Oh, yeah. Totally. Fuentes just totally lost this topic. If God... So actually, that was not bad. I mean, Dean set off this atomic bomb on him. And then next, it was like maybe a 1-2 combo. So maybe, point to Dean there. He's right. I would have been like, bam, but he's right. He just caught him in a logical inconsistency. If God tells you to kill a baby today, would you do it? Fuentes says yes. And if God tells you to rape a baby, would you do it? No. Wow. Totally inconsistent.
But is killing a baby not cruel?
And then Fuentes says that would be cruel to rape one, but not cruel to take its life away.
In the Old Testament, it worked differently.
No, I'm talking
That's
about
a fallen
you said,
world.
He did say today.
You particularly said that you would kill a baby today if God asked you, but you
If
wouldn't
God told us,
rape
yeah.
a baby if God asked you. So how come
No.
you
Slots is right. Are these the two stooges? Whoa. I did not hear that.
Rape.
kill a baby today, but not rape a baby?
Because the context of the Old Testament is that it's a fallen world. And that's the context you're talking about.
No, he trapped you in a logical inconsistency. So your position is illogical. In the present, you answered about the present by following him down the anti-white hypothetical.
Said that in the Old Testament,
Dude, we're not
God
talking about
said
dude. Please
hang
answer
on.
my
Yeah,
question.
we
This is a
literally
damning
are.
non-answer.
Well,
You
if we're not
told me
talking
today-
about wait. If we're not talking about the Old
I think Fuentes is realizing that he was had. And you can see Dean is foaming at the mouth with the point.
Testament, what are we talking about?
About the fact that you told me today, if God commanded you to kill a baby, you would do it. And then I followed that up by asking you, if God commanded you to rape a baby, would you do it? And you said,
But God
no,
wouldn't do that because
that's
it's evil.
cruel. Okay, so killing a baby today, you would do if God commanded it, but raping a baby today, you wouldn't do because God wouldn't command it.
Well,
because it's evil.
first of
are
all,
you making the implication that killing a baby today isn't evil?
I heard a joke. A comedian was telling a joke about what would be worse, raping a goat or killing a goat. And then he said that he's pretty sure that if he were a goat, it was crude, but it was funny.
No, what you said is that in
Okay,
the
so
Old
then you wouldn't
Testament.
do that either, right?
Well, hang
This
on.
is seemingly a
Let's
contradiction.
rewind. Let's rewind because you said in the Bible God says to rape babies. Can you just
No, I
retract
said
that
kill
because that never
babies.
happened? No,
I
if you
said kill
rewind,
babies.
yeah, okay. People can rewind the clip. You said kill and rape babies because you got to.
No, he asked you in a hypothetical if God said, and then he cited scripture where in the Bible it says to kill the babies
and rape people because you got a little ahead of yourself. Because you got a little ahead of yourself.
Nick,
that
I will
never
literally
happened.
clear this up so easily.
Okay.
If I said God commanded Saul and his men to rape babies in 1 Samuel 15:3, I misspoke. In 1
Okay,
Samuel
thank you.
15:3,
yeah.
God commands Saul and his
But
men
see, that's
to
the
kill
problem.
babies.
He didn't.
But you are not answering my question. This is a damning non-answer.
am.
Every single person watching the stream can see that you said if God commanded you to kill a baby today, you said you would do it. Can you affirm
Can we
that
be
fact?
serious? Can we be serious for a second?
We are being dead serious. Can you affirm the fact that you said if God told you to kill a baby, you do
Can
it?
we be serious? Can we grow up?
Why won't you
So-
answer my question?
Well, because we're talking about the Old Testament, are we not?
Dude, we're talking about today. How many times do I need to say that?
You're talking about the Old Testament. You're citing the Old Testament. You're talking about a specific verse in the Old Testament.
Oh my God,
You
this
can,
is
you
crazy.
can look. You can giggle.
Phil, I
But we're,
specifically
can we
asked you-
confirm that we're talking about the Old Testament? Is that
No.
correct?
That is
What are we
not
talking
correct.
about?
Exactly. I'll tell you exactly what we're talking about. We are talking about the fact that I asked you a damning hypothetical question.
Oh,
I
and he's even admitting it. He did ask him a damning hypothetical right now.
asked you.
It's
if God
not.
did-
It's a
one
cheap.
moment. Do you mind if I have 30
it's a
seconds?
cheap context. No. It's
You're
a cheap
interrupting me because
context
you don't want me
denial.
to talk because you know that you're losing.
Yeah, because the Old Testament says bad things in it. I know. I'm a new atheist, and I just discovered.
That's not the proper defense. I'll give you the proper defense.
Here's my answer to your question, if you allow me to answer it. I know you want a cheap gotcha question, but let's add a little context. The Old Testament
Please,
takes
point
place in a fallen world. We live in a fallen world because we have free will. Okay. God created human beings. Human beings disobeyed God and sinned. Because we disobeyed.
We're going to be wrapping up as soon as this segment is done. And don't know if we'll be returning to it another day. We'll look at some memes, though. But I think so far, this is an explosive. This segment also a win for Dean, unless something changes very quickly.
Obeyed God and sinned, we have the penalty of death, war, shame, guilt, pain at birth, all these things. In the fallen world, people kill. In the fallen world, people kill, people lie, cheat, steal. Cain kills Abel.
Oh, God.
In the world, the fallen world.
This is the exact same thing Fuentes did with the economic question. He starts talking about all of these tangentially related issues.
Before Jesus Christ arrived, it was a world with slavery and warfare and iniquity. It is in this context that God commanded the chosen people to kill certain tribes to establish their survival, to secure a line for the coming of the Messiah. God does not approve of killing because it says in the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not kill. God does not approve of rape because it says, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, and so on and
Slots and First Last saying the truth, that morality comes from the biospirit of the peoples. And that's why you see similar in some cases, but also very dissimilar outcomes in what is considered moral in the history of peoples in the world. And that's why our morality is being white erased.
so forth. So God obviously does not support killing, raping. Oh, would you kill and rape a baby? No. But in the Bible, God prescribes laws.
Oh, he's doing it again. He's Sig Heiling. This is like the Hitler Heil. Remember that? In all the old footage that we were forced to watch endlessly so we could learn about how evil the white race is. And then everybody else had to do like the full Sig. And for some reason, the boss only had to do the half Sig. And that's, but of course that makes sense for the Klansmen here.
And specific actions at the beginning of the world, which was fallen without Christ, without a savior, in sin, for the survival of the chosen people. So the rules worked a little bit differently in the Old Testament. It doesn't mean that, and of course, taking a life in and of itself, hang on, there's a difference everybody knows between killing and murder. If I go and murder you for no reason, that's immoral. If I kill in self-defense or self-defense of my children, it's a different story. God commanding the people of the Old Testament is an extraordinary exception based on the fallen old world. That's one. Two, when Jesus Christ arrives, he fulfills the law and saves people from hell. Before Jesus Christ arrived, nobody could even go to heaven, and it was a world of iniquity. And Jesus Christ changed and created this modern world that we're living in. So now here's the thing. God is the authority. If God commands us to, look, I know it's a complicated issue. You can't fit it into a TikTok where you do the Destiny drive-by and say, Trump's making your grocery prices higher. You know, but it's actually a complicated issue where we're talking about evil, the existence of evil. So does that mean that God is not an authority? Of course not. God is an authority. Would God command us to do those things today? Probably not. But if he did, in a hypothetical scenario, we'd have to trust God if we truly believe in God. Otherwise, you would say something like, we know more than God, or God is not good, or we're better than God.
You can't have both, Nick. You can't say that God wouldn't do it, but if he did, we would obey that.
And that negates the concept of a God or good itself. So that's my answer to your, oh, so when you say killing babies, it ties into like abortion.
It's so awkward. It was funny when he was 20. Not so funny when he's 26.
Policy. It's just like cheap, low IQ, left-wing bullshit. But anyway, go ahead.
Cool. Thank you. So I hear everything that you just said. I will give that a great response. I sure did. But before I give that a response, I wanted to take a brief moment to go back to the question that I was attempting to get you to answer prior. I understand that you just kind of gave me the story of the Old and New Covenant. We had different rules before, the Messiah came back down, created the New Covenant, whatever. I get it. Thank you. Okay? But the question that I asked you was, if God commanded you to kill a baby, would you do it? You said yes. I then asked you, Nick Fuentes, if God commanded you to rape a baby, would you do it? And you said, no, that's too cruel. If you'd like to take 15 seconds to kind of clear up that gap.
Oh, boy. This guy is practiced in this calculated, not backstabbing, but this calculated debating effrontery. I want to bring you back to the point I crushed you on, and I will yield you 15 seconds to speak to it.
Like, does that make the implication that killing a baby isn't
I
cool?
answered the question.
You didn't.
Okay. Is this a debate about Christian nationalism, or is this like a weird new atheist? By the way, why do you think killing is wrong? Where do you get that information from?
So first of all, I don't think that killing's inherently wrong. I think that murder is wrong. Okay. The unjustified
okay. So you agree with me then?
Right. And then what I'd say here about murder is that's just going to be driven given my intuitions. I'm a subjectivist. We all know this, but I think you are too. Would you agree with me?
His intuition. Okay. Where does the intuition come from? We have people here saying it right in my live chat. It comes from your instinct, which is your biospirit, which has demonstrated differences in all people. Some similarities, a lot of differences as well, create very different cultures and outcomes in countries. His intuition. So his opinion at the moment, what is the intuition?
Would you agree with me that objectivism can be defined as like a stance independent?
Could you imagine anti-white Dean, anti-white Withers world where you could kill somebody and you could say, well, this was killing, it wasn't murder because my intuition said.
Like truth.
It's an independent truth. What did you say?
What is this now?
Hear you.
Like a stance independent truth. That's what it means for
a stance independent truth.
Oh my God. It's lame. This This is like he's baffle gabbing. Stance independent truth is a philosophical term that clearly Nick doesn't know what it is, and 100% of the audience doesn't know what it is. So he's throwing this word out there to baffle, this concept out there to baffle gab. It simply means a truth that is independent of the observer. Baffle gabbing.
Yeah.
Of independent truth, or that there is independent truth?
Okay. Wow.
A sentence construction doesn't make sense.
So what he's doing now, that's calculated to really unscrupulous to say, here, I've got this concept that you haven't heard before from my philosophical studies. And then I'm going to throw it at you. And when you don't know what it is, I'm going to say, wow, you're dumb. Jeez.
Okay, so like in philosophy, right? When we're referencing terms such as moral objectivism or moral subjectivism, we define objectivism given when I say murder is wrong, that is true independent of any stance, of any act, or of any mind. Okay, when I say
I understand what you're saying. I don't understand the construction. I'm not. You're like mumbling to yourself. Yeah,
no,
I believe.
No, he's not mumbling. It's a concept that you don't know. Stance independent truth.
Yeah, subjectivism is that there's an independent truth. Yes.
Okay, so is morality independent of God?
No, because okay. God is morality. God is good.
So a morality is subject to God.
Oh God, he got him again. Oh no. Oh, he just got him again. Ouch.
Okay. Ooh, could God create a box so heavy he couldn't lift it? Yeah, that's great. So if you believe that killing is not...
I didn't give you a contradiction. I just showed you that you're a subjectivist.
I know. Thank you. So,
that's cute, huh?
So where do you believe that killing is wrong then? So you believe it's subjective. You don't believe it's absolute.
Withers is like smiling ear to ear. Absolutely. Like the fucking Riddler now. He just hammered Fuentes on a hypothetical and on two illogical positions of Fuentes. He demonstrated. So now he's just like loving life.
Absolutely wrong.
10 minutes.
Yeah, right.
What's that? What's that, Aiden?
10 minutes, guys.
Great. Yeah. So I mean, I could get and give you a little bit of an overview of my stance here on morality. So metaethically, I'm just gonna be a subjectivist, a relativist. When we like to reference like why I think things are wrong, it's just gonna be driven my intuitions. I mean, like we could talk about different moral frameworks. I myself am what is.
Could you add that world again? That kind of world. It's just my intuition. In other words, it's what I think is right and wrong.
It's called a threshold deontologist, meaning that I believe that like particular things can be always
breaking out threshold deontologist. You see, one of the things, especially for these breakfast cereal debates, is that none of the participants should be allowed to baffle gab because the audience is not going to know what it is.
Always wrong, but meanwhile, we should consider like the consequences of others. It's pretty interesting.
Is the Holocaust wrong?
Yeah, the Holocaust was wrong.
Oh no! Why are you bringing that up? What in the absolute hell?
Objectively?
No, because objective truths in the context of morality doesn't exist. Nothing's
in your opinion is wrong
because that standard doesn't exist.
In your opinion, it's wrong.
And in accordance with my index standard, it's wrong. Yeah, but I mean, just
my index standard. Man, just stock the shelves.
Saying, oh, you believe in subjectivism, but I'm gonna like counter that by asking you, is it objectively wrong? That doesn't really achieve anything. I could literally.
What is your qualification?
Was the Holocaust objectively wrong?
Of course, it was wrong. Of course,
but you just agreed with me that morality is subject to God.
Because morality is God.
Oh God, look at him. This must be a TikTok move. I don't have TikTok. Remember, they've kicked me off several times. But look at Dean Withers right here, turning to the camp. What an absolutely calculated, insolent, irreverent bullshit. And right after, superciliously condescending to Fuentes, he turns to the camera in this. How long are the TikTok videos have to be? He turns with this smile like, bing, that's the end of the edit. You click it right there.
It's identity, not subjectivity.
Wait, God is identical to morality?
Yes, God is good. God is the good.
Okay, so when I say that like hugging your mom is good, I'm just saying that hugging your mom is God.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh God, it's getting worse and worse for Fuentes. I mean, real bad. On Christian nationalism, you would think that he would run away with the game here.
Okay, so can you just say that for me? Like every single time you kiss your wife, that's a really God thing to do.
Love is good. An act of love that expresses love is good. God is the good. God is being itself. We are participating in being.
Oh, wait, now we have some more issues here, because earlier you told me that God would never command you to like rape a baby because that's evil. But now you're saying that God is identical to goodness, meaning if God is all powerful in the sense that he could do anything that's logically possible and he's identical to goodness, why wouldn't he be able to tell you to rape a baby?
Did you say grape?
I did. TikTok words. I know.
Oh, I hate that.
Well, God also tells us that God's plan is very complex.
Why won't you answer?
Oh, jeez. Nick is sounding like a boomer. This is like your parents talking to you now. You have all of these inconsistencies and then like, well, God is complex.
My question.
Because these are just like low IQ.
No, that's not a low IQ point at all. We're literally talking.
And that is an unscrupulous way to respond.
Talking about what you think goodness is, what its derivative, and how it apply to your God. Actually, we could extrapolate this out to the problem of evil as a whole, right? Like you actually said earlier that you think that the Holocaust is objectively wrong. Would you say all
if it happened at all, by the way? But yeah,
okay,
let's
so
theoretically,
what the fuck?
In theory,
hey,
no, I'm kidding. Of course it happened.
Do you see what I'm talking about?
Dude,
like,
Nick,
no.
what the fuck, bro?
Oh
wow,
this guy.
That dude, the guy up there is a Jew. The Aiden Ross, and he's coming unglued over there. Oh my gosh. I disavow it all, by the way. Totally disavow.
He's over here saying,
Oh my
if
gosh.
the Holocaust happened,
Oh my
but then he
gosh.
asked me if the Holocaust is objectively wrong.
So that was kind of tactical by Nick to take attention away from this really bad performance at this point on this topic.
Get a load of this joker. So I just want to ask you a fucking quick
Get a load
question.
of this joker.
Oh yeah, get a load
How
of this
about
joker.
another joke?
How
What do you
about
get?
You need to unmute your
Get
mic.
a load of this.
You want to tell me another joke? Keep talking. I'm going to go ahead and ask you a question. What do you say, all things considered, that the Holocaust is wrong?
If it were real.
Oh, wow. He's doing the look at the camera again, the TikTok look. You know, what is it about the TikTok look? It looks like soy manifest. Look at him. It is soy manifest.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God.
It is. And it is. And it absolutely
is.
is.
You're so fucking spineless. How the fuck can you sit in front of 45,000 people and say that the most
Was it that many watching? Wow.
documented thing that has ever happened in history might not have happened? I want to ask you a question. How the fuck do you know that Jesus resurrected from the dead, but you don't know if the Holocaust happened?
Just as an aside, why do anti-whites allow things like that to get so under their skin? The game is in the bag for them. Why would they come unglued? Well, especially this guy who's white. But he's really allowed that to get under his skin.
Please answer that question.
Shroud of Turin.
Shroud of Turin? That's been taken by the Shroud of Turin is a more reliable standard for evidence than the 250 independent sources that would justify that the Holocaust exists?
Listen, this isn't a Holocaust debate. Let's try to stay focused. This is a Christian.
Boy, Tina's really getting fired up now, folks. He's about to start giving head to that microphone. Wow. Look, religion is about faith, not about evidence. So Shroud of Turin, whatever, the moment you enter into, let's scientifically prove, you're no longer in faith. Religion is faith. Now they can say what they want about the Shroud of Turin, but you can't have faith and science and fact at the same time, because people take that apart very easily. Science and fact is always susceptible to different opinions, different findings, later discoveries. You have faith or you have evidence. And and as I say with fact, it's not, I'm not saying something that is objective outside and true whether we observe it or not, and the same for forever. It's what is determined at the moment. What is ignored by people like Withers here when it comes to Christianity is that these edicts were made at a time, and there are several ways to observe this, several ways to think about this, believing in an eternal being or not. But commandments were made about things that are no longer moral in a time when those commandments sustained existence. What is morality if it is not that which sustains, magnifies, amplifies, propagates existence and well-being? That is morality. So you can surmise that an eternal being could tell followers at a period in the human condition that they would have to do X, Y, or Z, which viewed from a later period, a different period in history, not just later, because that presupposes that you have this perfect sort of linear system or an arc that is going in one direction. And that's not the case either with the human animal or the human condition. But you can take a period in history when either it is leaders of a tribe or leaders of a group of people and or a divine being saying, you must do this, you must do that. And in order to perpetuate well-being, survival, etc., mastery, which is necessary in the universe for survival and well-being, and then evaluate that from a different period where none of those edicts and the causes for those edicts any longer apply. Does that make sense? So when you look at the Christian Bible, for example, and you do what Withers is doing, and you take edicts that have been retained primarily because it's challenging to faith to remove what has been claimed to have been handed down by God. It challenges faith. It challenges the faith of the faithful. It's difficult then to remove those, so they get left in, even though many have been removed. I mean, you look at the different books of the Bible and how many times that they've been emendated and changes have been made, but it's largely difficult to remove these. A fair evaluation is to recognize that these edicts, if there is no God, were given at a time when they were required for survival, required for well-being, and are inapplicable in the present. In other words, they are instructions that don't apply for the present. They might apply again for the future. And then again after that will not apply again for that present when it comes around. Does that make sense? So that's why it's unfair. That's why it's unfair to take the totality of the text and say, look at what they say here. Are you going to do it by today's standard? Is this legitimate? Furthermore, or is this moral? Furthermore, where the rubber meets the road in the real world, anti-whiteism is the lens through which Christianity is interpreted by all of the major branches, all of them, the leadership. There are individual preachers or individual priests that keep their head down, I understand. But from leadership down, anti-whiteism is the lens. And that was my experience. So everywhere you went, it was looking through the lens of anti-whiteism to interpret and then issue the edicts, issue the sins and the salvation of Christianity. And so that's why you have to take a step back and reinterpret the divine through the lens of our biospirit, our instinct. And what does Dean Withers call it? Intuition. Case closed.
Christianity debate.
No, let's talk about it. The shrouded turn specifically, we had 4 different group of scientists take different parts of it.
6
None of
million.
them.
Okay. We're going to stop there, I think. I don't want to hear a debate about the Shroud of Turin and whether or not it is a legitimate garment or whether or not whatever. That is 2 segments so far of the debate between the tete-a-tete between Dean Withers and Nick Fuentes. What are your thoughts? For me, it looks like Dean Withers has won both of those segments. The second one explosively, absolutely explosively. I don't see it getting any better for Fuentes. It's just the hill is slanted against him. So I know that there is a part about homosexuality, and is that legitimate later on, and a part about are men better than women or something like that later on. Maybe we'll review at some point, maybe not. But that's where I land on this debate, and I gave my thoughts along the way. I hope that they were helpful. It was interesting, I think, to see the kind of thing that brings in an internet audience, a very large internet audience, and what they find entertaining and edifying even, believe it or not. Breakfast cereal debating, Captain Crunch, with a heaping dose of soy. I'll take a look at what you all saying in the financial gifts, and we'll look at some hilarious memes as we have crossed the 2.5 hour mark. Looks like, let's see, aliens exist over there on Premium. On Premium Rumble says, very well said, Jason, to what I just said. Well, God bless you. Thank you for that. You're obviously extremely intelligent. Making a lot of comments over there. Thank you for your participation. Very good. We had NWG Westman. It's gotten to the point that Jews have figured out it's over for them in a white erased West. Well, they're in the white sympathetic sphere. There have been people that have argued that quite a lot. And I don't know. All I care about is whether or not any Jews or white people or whatever, and I know you're the same, are going to be anti-white. And I don't view any of them as a collective. I view them as individuals. Hello to everybody on D Live and Odyssey. Odyssey. And what do we have going on over there? Hail Victory by, I think your name is Good Job. Thank you for that. All right, no financial gifts there. Didn't miss any across those boards. We'll refresh this. We'll swivel back around, and we have big salutes on your feet. Big salutes, please. Raucous emojis, 07s, 007s for 2 champions over here on, wow. Well. Well. For 2 champions over here on Entropy. Let's get some hearts. Let's get some, if we can find some hearts, some swashbuckling flags maybe as well. Because you know who's about to get, one you know for sure who's about to get mentioned. The other, maybe you'll know, but you'll know as soon as I say the name. We have Dude Bro Moment, 50 white well-being dollars. God bless you, brother. $50. And Mrs. Jess Horst at $20 US. Great to see the both of you. Champions both. A lord and a lady has entered the room on Entropy. Thank you. Dude Bro Moment saying with his $50 for white well-being. And the great Mrs. Jess Horst saying, hail, hail, sir, hail Western kind, with white heart emojis. God bless you. A big Promethean hails and Promethean greetings to you both. Thank you. Thank you for being a part of this glorious roll-in. Let me check over here. We will do our refreshing. We will get ready for some funny memes as we get ready to wrap it up. I want to hear your thoughts. What is it like? I just have to ask you to watch two less than masculine guys debate, yell at each other with a total masculine sex symbol like myself reviewing it. It must have been titillating. Must have been. Total, absolute. I'm like oozing testosterone and strength and power. And the same necessarily could not be said for the others. So it must have been something. Quite a dichotomy, huh? For the tete-a-tete. Let's see. Cool Papa J Magic says Nick got stomped. It certainly feels that way in segment 2, which I thought was going to Christian nationalism. If I had been Fuentes, I would have steered it away from a conversation about the truth or falsity or morality or immorality of Christianity. You're not going to win with your basic bitch audience. There's no way. There's no way. I would have steered it away from that. But he's already hamstrung himself with these comments that the country, he's made a lot of it, and for years, about how the country's got to be run by Catholics. It's got to be dominated by Catholics, run by Catholics. It's a non-starter. And so he's boxed himself in there with that. If he took a broader view in the debate about Christianity and Christianity as interpreted by Western kind, in other words, our intuition, our biospirit, our connection with our creator, with the eternal. If he took that angle to it, there are a lot of strong beachheads there on which to debate. You can go back to the founding of the country. You can go back, obviously, our founding fathers, what they talked about, the mores that informed their writings, some of which was genius, some of which less than. There are a lot of beachheads there to talk about. But allowing Dean, and he even encouraged it, unfortunately, Fuentes did, really opened the door for Dean to go into, let's make this a conversation about the contradictions in the Bible, about the morality of the Bible in previous epochs relative to the morality of today, whatever exactly that is. Really made it impossible. So Fuentes would have done better. He probably could have won the conversation if he had taken it the direction that I'm suggesting here, quite handedly. But part of an interaction, especially with, a vague, as we call them, or an anti-white, is to deprive them of these thought chains that is their real power. To deprive them of a thought that for them will connect to another and connect to another and connect to another. That's one of the reasons why we recontextualize the story that we will have the discussion in. All right. First Last over here saying, thank you to Dude Bro Moment. First Last says, what's your opinion on the morality of giving with Cash App? It is a most moral thing to do, my friend. And I will head over there. I will refresh. We did not miss anybody on Subscribestar, it looks like. And there we have First Last, $5 financial gift. Thank you, brother. $5. And he says, you are wise beyond all. I appreciate that very much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. First, last, musical genius, swashbuckling commander extraordinaire. God bless you. We also have Get on Your Feet for a rousing swashbuckling salute for Maki. Maki is coming with a $25 financial gift. God bless you for that. I appreciate it. $25 from Maki. Big salutes. Big salutes. Remember, we're going to be getting into some comedy here in a minute. And then you'll be able to have the experience of total masculinity, sex symbol with jokes, with laughter. $25 from Maki says, great show. I think so too. I think I figured that some people were not going to like hearing the sort of doofus arguments, hearing from Fuentes and the really doofus anti-white that is Dean Horse's Ass. Maybe that'll be his new last name. Withers, Horse's Ass. Withers. $25 from Maki, but keep those celebrations, keep the raucous emotion, keep maybe some musical notes, like the great Linda Hunter has shared some great Linda Hunter musical notes. Share some musical notes, some fire emojis for the one and only Promethean Healing, who just week and a half ago, $500 financial gift today, $150. Save the white baby dollars. 150. God bless you. Let's get out the raw crack emojis. Get this man some emoji flags, some crowns for his head. 96 is in the chat. Can we get some actual 96s for the munificence, the philanthropic munificence of Promethean Healing? $150. And he says, with those 150 glory, each one of them worthy of a kiss. Yes. To white well-being. God bless you, brother. Thank you so much. A champion. And we also have Seamus McCarthy, a swashbuckling commander as well. His plume is in the winds. $5 financial gift. Thank you, brother. He says, for white well-being, for white children. Amen to that. Thank you so very much. And I think that is all of us over there for now. I want to see what you all had to say. It was worth it, wasn't it? To have a look at this, because we could see, all right, where does the breakfast cereal conversation begin and end? And then where does like actual adults come into the room? Where do we intersect? I know there are people in the chat, like the great commander Slots. The great philosophical commander Slots. And he's typing away. He's like, hey, we're the adults. And he's all of this, everything he's writing is intelligent. Adults are in the room. And the adults are observing this conversation among the kids. And the kids. And by that, I actually mean goats. Baby goats. Baby goats are so cute. Don't you just want to own a baby goat? Every time I see a video of a baby, or drive by a farm and there's a baby goat, or there are baby goats out there, they're the cutest little things. They can hop up on things. They can climb right up in trees like they're cats, but I don't know. They got like suction cups for feet. How do they do it? They run up the side of a house, right up the side of the house. I've seen these videos. The people, they've got baby goats. They come home. They decide they're going to have baby goats in like suburbia. Totally illegal, I'm sure. Probably the people down at that little community center, they're getting ready to storm the house. You know the folks I'm talking about, getting ready to storm the house. And they come home, they pull up, and the goats are not in the backyard where they're supposed to be. They're on top of the 2-story house. Like, how did you even get up there? They're magical. Maybe Santa's sleigh is pulled by baby goats. But here's the drawback. They fire turds. They've got like a little trigger somewhere, and their little tail goes back and forth. They shoot them out as a weapon. So I don't know. Maybe if they could make baby goat diapers. Ivan the Horrible is in the house. Great to see you. And Cool Papa says, yep, an essay example is how love thy neighbor is interpreted. Anti-white Christians will say it means we have to take care of the world. I say it means protect our own from harm. Beautiful. We have brilliant people here. Absolutely brilliant, brilliant, brilliant comment right there. Yes, they take this interpretation of love thy neighbor, they view it through the lens of anti-whiteism, and then that obviously means you're going to love the other, the outsider, the different, rather than your own. But really, it clearly means, if you're viewing it with our intuition, our biospirit, you're talking about each other, our brothers and sisters. In fact, you know, it occurred to me earlier, but I can't recall if I actually said it because I wanted to get to the debate. But tzedakah is the most important. Aliyah is what, like, the anti-Jews, they always want to talk about that. The right to return to is for any Jew. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be born in it. You just get to go, right? And they're like, all the time, they're like, they got a home plate. They got a safe place. All right. But what matters is tzedakah, where we are in the world, where they are. And it is a moral requirement to do for your fellow Jews. I think it's beautiful. I think it is a magnificent thing. And white people need to have our own tzedakah. It needs to be absolutely taught in the cradle that if you are white, you have to take care of your white brothers and sisters. It is your moral duty to do so. The white race has we have anti-tzedakah. That's the problem. Aliyah, forget about it. Then they're going to show up and say, let me tell you a thing or two about them Jays. I'm going to tell you the dues. Okay. I think the appropriate thing to call them, although the ear is against the door, we got to be careful against their AI misinterpreting things, and then the willful misinterpretation by anti-whites who review things. But it is not inappropriate or wrong or inaccurate to call the multiracial anti-Jewish people, to call them shadow Jews. They follow Jews everywhere Jewish people go. They hate on them. They read all about them. It's a real obsession. It's a real illness. You all know this, but it's where we deviate. The real Vincent is with us. Hello to you. John P. is here. John P. pointing out that Dean sure talks lispy. He does have a little of a lisp there, doesn't he? Probably a consequence of using his baby bottle for far too many years. Cindy Ben is in the house. Let's see. What are you all? Tagging is no white guilt, so I don't miss any great comments. I want to make sure I get your insight, because look when I get your insightful comments, they're brilliant. So make sure we get it. We're going to get to the comedy here in a moment. The masculine, beautiful male body, bodying forth hilarity for the masses. Wonder why anti-whites will debate the likes of Fuentes, but not you. Yeah, I wonder why. Because they roll in and they hear this, and then they're like, nope, no thanks. No thanks. Let's see. A better response to hypotheticals of if God said X is that they cannot speak to the spirit or frame of God, in order to ask such a thing. Very well put. A brilliant comment from our philosopher commander, Slots. Renal White Wolf is here. Great to see you. Make a name for yourself, folks. Jump in, say funny, tag me, say funny things, say wacky things. Be a, let's see, be a part of the conversation. Spud is still with us. Great to see that you're still here. And she says, check out the second half, even if the community is interested. Alex is here. He's acting like a child at school. I guess that could probably be said almost for either of them, but probably more Dean Withers. I mean, let's just be honest. Dean is 20 years old, and his behavior was more like a 10-year-old. And that's not an exaggeration. I think I'm actually being kind of fair. But he doesn't need to stay in that state by any means. He can talk to yours truly, and then he can stand in like the aura of male power, and he can maybe absorb some of that, and then he'll change. Then suddenly he'll be like, you know what matters is the well-being of my people. Then everybody of all races will be well in the West. If my people are healthy, the West will be healthy, and that means people of all races here will be healthy. Wouldn't that be great? He's a smart guy, right? They're both smart guys. But he hasn't started down that track of AIDS, quite frankly, which is the AIDS of the white race. And that is our defense co-opted by the anti-Jewish people. Looks like I must have said a few things to get a few laughs over the course. The great Azimuth Clark, Commander, is with us. The great First Last here, saying that our morality comes from our biospirit, precisely. Dean called it intuition. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? When you're going free, you're using our dialogic, and then like you see people in the anti-white narrative say exactly what we know. They're using a different word for it there, but it's exactly what we know. How right we are. The great Fourneau. This is so dumb. Have fun, guys. Thanks for the stream, Jason. Awesome analysis, like always. I should have jumped in more. I should have jumped in more to keep the soy gauge down. The soy gauge was just like rolling, wasn't it? It was runaway. Runaway soy. Buddy Duddyful, great to see you. Buddy Duddyful concludes that Nick lost round 2. Thank you for your input. Strolling through. Remember, I'm trying to see your comments, but if you don't tag me, let's see. There's Sloth saying it as well. Comes from our biospirit. The sirens are going outside here from across from Mordor on the Potomac. If you want to know how to debunk the Shroud of Turin, just get some aluminum foil, wrap it around your face to make an imprint, then carefully unfold it. Then it looks like a monkey. Something seems really off by putting aluminum foil on my face. I don't think I can do that. How about those people who have back in the day, people used to have their death masks done so their relatives could keep their face. That was the photograph before photographs. James Edwards loved Sadaka, says First Last, especially Calendar Girl and Laugh in the Rain. What? Different Sadaka. That's funny. Totally different Sadaka. Foreigners can't be a neighbor without our countries being ours. Yes, right, Sloths. Al Robot said, debates are boring. Just strolling through. Remember, tag me. AOC is with us, says, Withers. What a beta last name. He withers away and dies. Time for a name change. Yeah, I mean, the withers, the horse's ass. It's like the back, but come on, it's the ass. I don't know if I would keep that one. The real Vincent giving a flexing arm. And all right, you can still give your thoughts. I will be looking for your thoughts on this. Do not go in my water. You know what would happen if a gnat flew in my water? You know what would happen? I would burn the house down. That's what would happen. Stay away from my water. Actually, I would drink him down and I would send a letter to all of his family members about this is what happens. I don't go round. No mercy. Westman Positivity is in the house. What a great community we have. Yeah, I mean, it was valuable because you really could see the difference between, I mean, you have these people that have massive popularity. And I mean, Withers, 1 million followers, 40-some thousand people watching that live, massive popularity. But you could see how vacuous, how absolutely vacuous and pedestrian it really is, the conversation. And that is not all there is to it, but that intersection where we enter the conversation and point out really the fundamentals, how obesitarian it is, and what really matters. So that's valuable. We don't do this often, so we had a look. We had a look and we had some laughs. I saw Linda early on. Linda was like, I'm out of here. I ain't watching this. Nameless One said, Jason makes it easier to retain a focus, but it was kind of still brain rotting. Well, with what the hell were they saying? Yes, it's gone now. It's gone. It's ephemeral, like the dew. It just evaporates. It's fugacious. It's fugacious, like the flowers of spring. We can go any direction you want. They're like, no, he can't have muscles and be that sexy and still know that. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. You really can see too the neoteny in our race. You have a 20-year-old and a 26-year-old. If that's not neotness, I think Nick probably has more of an ability to become an adult, but his circumstances of his own creating, I don't think are really going to. And his audience, the Fuentesians, that's his real power. Branch Fuentesian. And how's he going to walk away from that? And they're all, I mean, have you seen pictures of them? I've got pictures. public pictures. It's not nothing private, you know. Spud says, I appreciate that you covered this for us. Thank you. You are most welcome. Thank you for the appreciation. Okay. Let's have a look at some comedy. Tag me across the platforms if you would like. The live chat over here says, shaking my head says that he's an N-word. And Mr. Will you accept me as being your... No. What are you even writing? Will you... being your N-word slave, please. What? What? My gosh. No, I am Boss Bear Sexy. If I were in charge in early America, there would not, slavery would not have been allowed. Wouldn't have been allowed. Unless they were white. If that were me back then, of course, because it was moral. The whole world had done it. The whole world had done it. And I know there were white slaves, and I know there were white slaves as opposed to indentured servants that were white. I know. I'm not getting into the weeds here about that. I'm just having a little bit of fun. Balls Bear Sexy. Here we go. Oh, this is a beautiful video. You all are going to love this video. Everybody says it is a wonderful video. As soon as we find it, you're going to love this. Have you seen this video? Is it fake? I almost want to think that these are good actors and that this is faked. But it has such a feel of reality when you watch this. Anti-white guy driving down the road, white, anti-white white guy. Passenger is a anti-white white female. You don't actually see her, but you can tell by her voice. And what's the guy's name? Chad? It's like a real conversation that the kind of condescending, the woman is in charge. And the guy's like, I hate Trump. And she's like, I hate Trump too, Chad. I think it's Chad. I don't know. Don't quote me. So he sees a Trump sign and he decides he's going to run it over. One of them little yard signs, right? And one of the other reasons I think it's real is because we've seen a lot of these videos where people, they kind of booby trap the sign, and especially like where they put electricity through it. Some of those are my favorite. Not enough to kill or maim, but enough to make you question when you were born, what your mother's name is. Let's have a look.
This is going to be great.
This is so ridiculous. You realize that, right?
No, it's not. Trump. That's
Look,
what I say. I
know, but I hate Trump too, Chad. But you don't see me out here destroying property. It's probably illegal.
You know what's a crime? To have a fucking Trump dance sign.
Oh my God.
In the main line.
I can't believe you said that. What's wrong with you?
Oh, what is that?
Oh, what is that?
Oh my God.
What is that?
Oh my God.
Oh my God, what is
That's
that?
just great.
Oh God.
What happened?
Oh my God.
What?
These fucking people. Fucking assholes.
I have to get to work. Don't tell me you got a flat.
That's what they did.
Oh boy.
Fuck Great.
Oh my God. So maybe the homeowner put a board down full of nails, thinking that only some anti-white POS wearing a mask as he's driving down the road would drive over that Trump sign. And sure enough, I mean, it's who would actually flatten their tire for a silly video? Because he really ran that over, unless it really sounded real. But I guess they could have faked that audio of the board hitting the wheel well. But that is glorious. And I love it how he's like, I hate these people. Like he was totally had again. I hate these people. Yeah, you fat, soy-eating loser, anti-white loser. Wearing your mask. B is here. B says, I'm playing catch up with the stream, but I think you should cover this. I don't know why I'm suddenly going into like a slow Southern drawl, but maybe that's how B talks. I think you should cover this as it shows that our leader is smarter than both an anti-white libtard and a queso Catholic. God bless and keep. Well, amen. I think so too. Thank you. It does show that I am superior. Not superior at bringing in an audience. Let me just, I reckon, like, I can see where, I can see where there are different competitions. There are different fields. And no competition there. No competition for bringing in a very large audience. That's all right. Because I have a lot of confidence. When you are this boss bear sexy, and in every, everywhere, when you are this boss bear sexy, it's okay. It's all right. It doesn't hurt. I don't have to be insecure about that. I hate these people. That's funny. Watch B is probably like downtown Boston. And it's like, that's really not my accent. I drive a car every day in America. All right. What else? Did anybody have anything to say? Does anybody think it's real? I think it's real. I think she wanted to film this idiot. And that's why she broke her phone. When he's like, he probably said, there's a Trump sign, I'm going to run it over. And so she broke out her phone and she's like, I'm filming this idiot doing this. I'm going to show the people at work. Chad or whatever. Promethean Healing says mask ROFL. Yeah, I know. Could you imagine what kind in every aspect of life, if you had to deal with this guy, he's still got a mask on. Because he said Trump and Pence. Oh, no. Did he say Pence? Because then that would be old. I missed it. He did say the vice president, though. Spud thought it was hilarious. Positivity says, doesn't look staged. Ivan says in New Jersey and New York, they say coffee. So I got a little bit of coffee left over here. It gives your mouth a workout to say coffee. You remember SNL Coffee Talk? Who was that? Myers? Coffee Talk? I'm verklempt. I'm verklempt. Talk amongst yourselves. Coffee. Or am I mixing up skits? I don't know. Who cares? Probably not, but all right, let's keep rolling. Let's roll. What did Optimus Prime say? I could probably do that voice. All right, now this one is not funny. It's interesting. And I'm not going to say a lot. I'm not going to watch the whole thing, but just have a little look. You have to do some reading. So put on your spectacles. I'm not going to say whether any of this is claims that the government is controlling the weather. It was all junk.
We're actually using trillion-watt lasers now.
Trillion-watt lasers, the scientist says.
All of them could be subject to weather modification for floods, you name it, outdoor events and agriculture, and even hurricanes.
I'm rejecting all of this as I hear it. All right. You see where this is going. He's now looking at the swing states of what are some of the swing states? Big ones: North Carolina, Georgia. We know that a very Republican area in North Carolina is the area that was just destroyed. If we see hardcore Republican areas, especially in Georgia, get hit by the current hurricane, I'm going to begin to wonder about the coincidence. You can look online to ascertain how much of this is real or fake. You can go watch those old interviews and determine for yourself. But as far as we're concerned, we've got to spread the lexical dialectical power ASAP. If not only is there cloud seeding, but there is also storm driving, then we want people who care about us to be in charge of those tools. But I reject it all. It sounds like science fiction to me. All right. Oh, this is interesting. Now, where did this happen in? Okay, so you get a little flooding at your house, okay? You had to leave. You went away. You just said, there's going to be some flood. We're going to go uptown. Ground's a little higher. We're going to stay in a hotel. We'll come back, and then we'll fix things up when we get back. And you come home to this. Okay, well, water's coming right out of the house there. Look at that. Oh. Yes, holy shit is appropriate. That is a gigantic alligator in the foyer.
Look at that.
It's crocodile. But...
Oh, my goodness.
Holy. At this point, you run. At least I run. I think he's got squatters' rights. I tell you what, these illegals, as soon as you leave the house, they're just going to come right in, set up shop, and look at what they do. He probably left the water on in the bathtub to make it like this. You can't even leave for a little vacation, a weekend retreat to go show off your boss bear sexy at a particular type of beach. And you come back and you got squatters. He probably is voting Democrat. And smarter. Animal control, Sloth said. For the 2 or 4-legged kind. Ivan says, not an alligator. It isn't? Was it an actual crocodile? Basically, dinosaurs. Yeah, they had a dinosaur squat in the foyer. You know what? Somebody ought to take that video and then add like Hispanic cussing and yelling. That's funny. Satirizing the wrong things. All right. Funniest sneeze you have ever seen in your life. Are you the funniest sneezer? Or do you know a sneeze-e who is the funniest that you've ever seen? Oh, the great Lunda, Down Under Thunder has shown up. You got to watch from the beginning, man. We've been having fun this whole time. You're not missing this whole show. No. I had an Australia question earlier. Where were you? Lunder says, the scale of the squatter crisis makes me think it's only the tall end or tail end. Yes, that's what I thought it said, or I thought you intended, but my blurriness said otherwise. But it is tail end of it. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, he says he's been watching. It was about the spelling of apologizes. In Australia, is it SES? Because it was in the title of the article. All right. Funniest sneeze. Here you have the funniest sneeze I've ever seen. Are you ready for this? What is going on? What is going on with this dog? What is happening? Did he get into his owner's stash? Let's see. What do the commenters say? This one says turbocharged chinchilla. This one's funny. Turn off vibration mode. He's glitching. Oh, this person. Is something stuck in the dog's nose? Snot. Oh, he said this person says that's his new car exhaust sound. Yeah. I guess that's the new soy cars. Yeah, it's just isn't it funny how like in these last few decades everything has gotten wimpy, and we have soy cars, and now we got soy boys. Soy is the word of the day. Could you see that at a spelling bee? Your word is soy. Could you define that for me, please? No, it would be more like, can you define that for me, please? What's its origin? Feminism. This person, y'all worried about him sneezing. WTF going on with his legs? Yeah, I mean, he's like speed typing something out. Says he's stuttering, needs an upgrade. Oh, that's true. It does sound like a drill. Oh, sloths. That's funny. Call the J orbiters soy goys. Oh, pain to the soy goys. Oh, I'm going to write it down. Pain to the soy boys. Oh no. Oh no. They're going to hate that. Lunder said, someone's stealing the car. Oh, it's just the dog. Yeah, like the car alarm going off. Promethean Healing says, bring back great engines. If we were in charge, we would bring back the muscle car. I mean, let's forget about, if you really want to do right by the environment, you need to make cars again. They're not meant to be like Down syndrome spaceships. Let's make them cars again. Simplify, get all of this tech out of it. You just have like the tech you need, ABS, things like that, and have big block rumbling muscle under the hood. Let's have that again. I agree. V12, V16s, holy moly. The only V12 I've driven was, well, the was the NASCAR V12? The Lamborghini was that I drove on the track. Talk about Boss Bear sexy that day. Yellow Lambo racing around the racetrack. Oh, Lunder, Soyum, yeah. Anybody have any idea what's going on with this dog? If this were my dog, I wouldn't be able to get through the day. I'd be laughing my ass off too hard. I would literally find things that make him sneeze, and I would be putting that in front of him. Does he ever sneeze enough to do a full 360? All right. Oh, this one, it's kind of licentious in a way. It's kind of ribald. It's kind of libidinous. It's kind of libidinous. I know that the people who are like outsiders, they're like, he's making up all those words. None of that shit's real. He's made up every one of them words so far. All right. This is not a video. This is just for your reading. I'll read it for you. Her. Why is there a mark at 3 3/4 inches on this ruler? Me. Gross. Gross. Talk about context and not having any idea that you aren't the center of the world. Wow. He's like, yeah, baby. Yeah, baby. I can tell you this. He's not going to amount to much, but he sure as hell is going to think so. And that's half the battle. Promethean Healing said 427 cubic inch, 640 horsepower. Pontiac developed a 427 cubic inch Hemi that was supposed to be used in the early 70s, but the emissions or fuel consumption regulation caused it to be scrapped. Did they actually make it? That would be something to have, wouldn't it? Look at Ivan. He rides to the rescue. Or maybe the decapitating of the newcomers who are like, he's making it all up. Ivan's like, Ivan will show you it's real. Ace in the house. Well done, Ivan. Ivan. Spud says, it's debaucherous. Nasty little boy. Nasty little boy. Get away from me with your sick ruler. You know, that would be the movie, like throw the ruler. You're like, why is it marked? Ah. Linda said the dog sounded, it did sound like a dolphin. Maybe it was trying to talk with Flipper. Klomp is here. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Klomp. I have arrived for the conversation. We're having too much fun. Positivity said, me too sneezed because my washer dryer was broken. Had zero idea. Oh, okay. So Lunder answers our question. Only Americans and Canadians put the Z. So that's what I was thinking. Brits and the Kiwis and the Aussies. Just when I saw it, I was like, hold on. Hold up. Ivan said, this is not what Ivan pictures Klomp sounding like. I should start doing voices for you all. And you'll be saying, that's not my voice. Now, this one here is actually a really, in all seriousness, like heartwarming. Really heartwarming. Serious, I'm being serious. This is lovely, actually. Really lovely. Pulled at my heartstrings. After the man's wife passed away, his children adopted a shelter dog for him to keep him company. And this is a surveillance camera they obviously have to see. You know, if the old man takes a tumble, they want to be able to see it on the camera to come and render aid. The dog is on the bed going berserk because this is now he got an owner. He's got a friend. Punches him in the chest. The dog's like, let's roll. Look at the old man. The old man's like, Jesus. Oh, wait. I might not be able to play that audio. Let me just turn the audio off. Just watch. So the old man decides to play back. It's like waving the pillow. Dog spins. Look at that. Runs back like lightning. The old man's like, what do I do? All right, let's play. Could you imagine this? Isn't this heartwarming? This is so lovely. I love that. I love this video. Man's wife passed away. Even if that story's not true, I mean, we see that a lot on these videos. On Instagram, they come over from TikTok, but also originate on Instagram, where they make up fake stories to go with it to make it more whatever. But this is lovely. This is obviously a senior citizen. He's with his dog, and the dog wants to play. And the old man is a bit confounded at first. He's like, what the heck? You just punched me in my chest? So obviously new to it, and then trying to organize things, and then decides, all right, buddy, let's go ahead and play. I love it. Ivan said, the Jason's impression of Ivan is spot on, though. Absolutely, my brother. All right, still rolling. We talk about how the subconscious mind governs our life and can't tell the difference between reality and fiction. So too for ducks. After they watch scary movies, this happens. Me going to pee at night after watching a horror movie. Okay, now this is really sad and funny as hell. You have reached a really sad state when this is your escape speed. You know you're in a bad way when this is your running for your life speed. Take a look at this. Here's this guy. He's out there. He's holding the sign. Okay, we're doing road work. You got to stop here. He's got this big rig is stopped. Imagine running for your life, and that's the fastest you go. Are you ready?
I'm coming in.
Look at this. You could not be slower. There he goes. He goes, oh my God, I'm running for my life. Oh my God. Oh, that hurts. That hurts. Oh shit. Oh. He would have been dead. That was an 18-wheeler. And that's as fast as he had. Yeah, time to hit the gym. If that's full speed, I tell you this, if I ever go on a safari, I want him with me. Because if things go bad, he's a lot to eat, and there's no way he's not getting caught. I'm going to be gone, though. I bet you he went on workers' comp after this. Physical and psychological trauma of fleeing for his life, captured on the dash cam of this pickup, of this 18-wheeler. Wow. Lunder said, bro thinks slow-mo is real life. Yeah. In slow-mo on TV, so true. In slow-mo on TV, slow-mo is really fast-mo. This is what you got to understand. For so long, slow-mo is strong-mo. Slow-mo is everything but slow. Oh, Linda says, can you embiggen, please? I don't think it gets any bigger than that. Let me see on this one if it's bigger. This one, and thank you for telling me that, actually, if it's looking too small. This one is a little gerbil creature in the ground, and somebody, I don't know if they sent a endoscopic camera down into the tunnel, but the little gerbil creature doesn't like it. So let's see. What would you do if you were a gerbil creature and the endoscopic from an alien intelligence creeps into your warren? Who knows? It's probably there to probe you. Reminds me of the time I tried doing a backflip on a trampoline in slow-mo. Landed on my neck. Oh my God. Yeah, you could break your neck doing that. All right, let's see. Now let me see on the screen. I could do this. There you go. Is that a little better? Let's see how this little gerbil thing reacts. Action. I love how it sounds like he's like trying to talk. And then the final bit is just an outright scream. This person says it's Donald Duck. All along we thought that was nonsense. That was an actual language. And it's spoken by these gerbil things. This person's writing, a landlord. A landlord. Oh, that's what he says it's saying. A landlord. A landlord. A landlord. Ah! Maybe? A landlord. Or this one says he's saying, who are you? Who are you? Who are you? Ah! I think landlord sounds more like what he's saying. Oh, this one says he's saying Obama. That's funny. All right, just a couple more. Oh, this is pretty funny. You're minding all your P's and Q's. You're crossing the street. Okay? Everything's good. You got cars racing back and forth. You don't want to get hit by the car. All these cars. So all you got to do is get across the street and all is good. Let's see what happens. Just when life is going smoothly and you start to relax. Now that I might be turn this on for. Okay, we'll stop it there. But the show will continue without the music. He's crossing, cars zipping by. There he goes. He's like, all right. Okay, I've made it across. Oh my God. The trammels of living somewhere other than the West. You just want to walk across the street where there are no rules and the cars could hit you. and you get across and everything is fine, except some sheep comes and runs you over. Like, what did he do to the sheep, right? What warranted that? Did that sheep lose a bet with the other sheep that he was going to get killed? And he's like, man, I'm going to go mow his ass down. This person said he didn't dodge the ram. I wouldn't give it the name ram. That was like a level of Frogger. Just as life is going smooth and you start to relax. The ram had one purpose, to do what the cars couldn't. Oh, this guy says the ram ran into him and yelled, "No jaywalking." Now this guy says that looked personal. I think it did. I think that sheep lost a bet against the other ones. He's like, there you go, bitch. Diorama, am I right? Says Lunder. That's funny. Yeah, man. I mean, you can't relax whenever you're in Calcutta or wherever this is. You don't know what's coming. Okay, this is in the West, and it is hilarious, okay? Get ready for this. This is not staged. This is real. It's hilarious. Guy gets out of his truck, is very perplexed. He's like, what the hell's going on? This is not supposed to be here. So he takes out his phone to have a little video, and we all get to enjoy it. But wait for the twist.
This is really happening. There's a goat. Why is there a goat? Hi.
Hi.
Hey, buddy. Are you a nice goat? I don't have food, goat. Oh my God! There's a fucking llama! What is going on? This is really happening. There's a goat. Why is there a goat? Hi. Hey, buddy. Are you a nice goat? I don't have food, goat. Oh my God! There's a fucking llama!
Oh my God, somebody wrote something hilarious here. Let's see. Where is it? Is it still there? Oh, I don't know if it's still here. I'll probably be able to find it. Somebody wrote a quote for the llama talking. And it said, "There's no time to explain, Steve. Get on my back." This guy gets to work, and this goat, he's never been around like a barnyard animal. So he sees like a goat. He's like, "Are you a nice goat? Are you going to, kill me and eat me?" And then all of a sudden the goat hears something. So the guy raises his head and sees this llama running toward them. Oh, here it says right here, "No time to explain, Steve. Jump on my back." Man, that is the way an epic trip starts. You know what I mean? That guy's thinking right now, I shouldn't have put that in my coffee. Shit. I thought I would be fine at work today. Damn it. I love that. Oh my God, there's a fucking llama. Oh, this is priceless. Let's see if anybody else had anything funny to say. Go ahead and introduce me. Oh, this person wrote, some kind of Jumanji is going on. Should have been like, what in the Jumanji is going on? This person said, I need the rest of the story. No, they're remaking Evan Almighty. The Chosen One. Oh, it would have been great if that guy would have been like so dumb that he would have thought that he was like touched by God. That was the funniest one in a while. That's hilarious. That's real. Oh my God, there's a fucking llama. Don't goats eat nearly everything? It isn't a stretch to imagine that they would eat the people. Yeah, maybe. He was a pretty animal, wasn't he? His coloration? Linda said that she thinks llamas are pretty chill. Not sure, though. I think I would feel a little safer around the goat than the llama. Is there anybody in the live chat that knows about llamas? Would they like start kicking the crap out of you? Promedian Healing says he's Dr. Doolittle. Yeah. That's funny. Okay. Almost done. This one is really interesting. We have a competition going on here. A planking competition. Let's see how the women perform relative to the men. Here we go. Here she is. Wow. Look at her. Look at that big smile of pain on her face. She planked for 4 hours, 19 minutes, 55 seconds. Could you imagine? 4 hours. Wow. Women are amazing. Well, this old guy. Oh, look at that. Let's see. The old guy does 9 hours, 38 minutes. But the winner goes to the Dotson. 14 years he's been planking. No problem, folks. This person said 9 hours is my total gym time per year. That nobody is beating the Dotson. And, you know, Kate used to actually talk about having a plank off with Dotsons. I don't think you're going to win. I really don't. He's a cute little guy. All right, what's our final? Let's see. Our final is a very cute little doggy. It's the way to end our roll in. Take a look and a listen. There's the little doggy on the couch. Big smile, Holly. Holly was like,
big smile, Holly. Oh, girl. Big smile, Holly.
How did she teach the dog to? That's hilarious.
Oh, girl.
Look at that cute little dog smiling. She has the sweetest smile. What a cutie. She did smile. Even her little ears came up for the smile. Yeah, at least they didn't go back. That would be a different kind of smile for a dog. All right. That's been our roll-in. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Final words. I will take a look at your final comments and any financial gifts. We will refresh, and then we will roll. I got an early day again, an early day. So I've got to somehow find sleep. Any final comments from you all on any of the wow. We're going to have to do some Halloween music this year. For White Wellbeing is with us. Hello to you, brother. All right. Okay, good. We didn't miss anybody here. Didn't miss anybody there. Those fingers in my hair. We're going to be doing that song maybe later in the month. And didn't miss anybody here. Didn't miss anybody there or here. Let's see, any tags for me? If I saw 2 Chinook helicopters, sandy white color, flying low near my house in Georgia today, heading north, what would you think? Ooh, that's a little bit, that's some interesting inside information. Writes aliens exist. So sandy white color, so kind of like the sky, the clouded sky, and they flew over your house in Georgia today, right as the hurricane is approaching. And let's make sure we give a moment for prayers for all of our brothers and sisters and everybody, all good people of all races who are in the path of this new hurricane making landfall, I guess, just about tonight. And right around the eye, right around south of Tampa, I think they said. Send positive energy, and let's hope that nobody gets harmed, that it's just inanimate objects that can be replaced. So our thoughts and prayers are with everyone in the path. If that storm if that storm wipes out a bunch of Republican counties in Florida alone, I'm going to be interested. If it makes a turn and heads up into Georgia, I am going to be very interested. Keep us abreast. Okay, that's all there was there. How about here? Nobody in the thread under. How about in the live chat? Nobody there. So we're good on all these. Quam says that his Gramps, mom, and sister are in Tampa. Did they stay? Are they safe? And he's in North Carolina. It's a mess. My God. Prayers to you and your family. We have another community member whose family is in Asheville. And so big prayers and positive energy for her family as well. Lunder sent a DM on X. Thank you. JK160 saying he heard that the storm is really weakened. Let's hope it's a category 3 instead of a 5. Well, that's great news. Let's hope it continues to come apart. All right. Then on that note, we will begin with music. You'll be dreaming about this moment. It's been glorious. Let's, I guess, at least timestamp the debate review, because there are probably people that want to hear that bit, if anything. And otherwise, then unless something crazy happens, I'll be coming back on Sunday. And make sure that you are watching Yiz the Unifier tomorrow at 6 p.m. I don't know what show she'll be doing. It starts at 6, though. But it's a show with News Fist. He'll be there. So make sure that you are there. I'll be there. I'll be there. Unless something really goes wrong. I'll be in the audience cheering them on along with all of you. Otherwise, Promethean hails roll out.
Looking for a place to do my thing. Now hump and get it. Yeah, I'm a small town man, I've been around a little. I like guitars and I like a fiddle, and that's kind of soul it takes to